Chapter 1706. Blood splattered out in a dazzling manner, floating in the air. A bloody hole had been pierced through Zhu Yun's forehead. His body was perfectly preserved, but the luster of life in his eyes had disappeared without a trace. His body was still there, but his spirit was gone. What would a pervert? The white tiger couldn't help but shiver. Zhu Yun was a young sovereign ranked 11th on the 100 Immortals ranking. He was a half-step true god, but now he was killed so easily. This sword is... Ling Yun was also shocked, and Shuang was shocked, and Shui's eyes widened. Even someone as calm as Bai Ziki could not help but flicker at this moment. She was truly shocked by the divine sword that Lin Tian had summoned. On the other side, Qin Jingyan, who was dressed in black, narrowed his eyes. His expression had truly changed. He immediately retreated again. A dozen rays of light rolled and turned into a divine radiance that shot into the sky. He was about to leave this place. But now the powerful Zhu Yun was actually killed so easily by Lin Tian. This was something he had never expected. He had never expected the existence of the seven-colored divine sword. Buzz! In the sky, the four-symbol seal trembled. Divine brilliance fell and imprisoned Qin Jingyan again. I've said it before. Don't waste your energy. With your current strength, don't even think about getting out of the range of this seal. Lin Tian Dao. The four-symbol seal was a peerless divine art. Like the dragon burial scripture, it was enough to amaze the past, present, and future. At this time, he had used the power of the seven-colored divine sword to create the four-symbol seal. In this way, even if Qin Jingyan was a young sovereign at the Immortal King realm, he wouldn't be able to shake this divine picture. Even if there was a real god expert at this time, it would probably take some effort to fight against the divine picture of four symbols that he had summoned. Stop! I'll pretend that nothing happened, Qin Jingyan said in a deep voice. Lin Tian couldn't help but laugh. You're really funny. Do you have the right to say such things now? Do you really not understand your current situation? As he spoke, he raised the rainbow divine sword in his hand and calmly slashed out. Those who wish to kill will be killed. He was not a cruel and merciless person, but he was definitely not a merciful person. Others had tried to kill him twice. So how could he give up? It wasn't like there was something wrong with his IQ. Clang! A blinding sword radiance tore through the sky. The rainbow divine sword slashed out a rainbow sword radiance as he waved it. Qin Jingyan's expression changed greatly. He couldn't help but shout, "You live?" Pooh! Blood splashed out, directly interrupting his next words. The seven-colored sword light pierced through his forehead, instantly crushing the soul in his sea of consciousness, causing the luster of life in his eyes to rapidly disappear at a speed visible to the naked eye. Just like Zhu Yun, his flesh shell still existed, but he had already perished from the world. In the blink of an eye, he killed two young supremes. Moreover, one of them was ranked 11th on the ranking of 100 Immortals. Whooshing Crocodile clicked its tongue. Looking at the rainbow divine sword in Lin Tian's hand, it was both surprised and excited. A young supremacy ranked 11th on the ranking of 100 Immortals and a young supremacy ranked 57th on the ranking of 100 Immortals were killed in this place. Moreover, it was a crushing defeat. It was truly shocking. Cool. Very cool. The white tiger bared its teeth. Being attacked by a strong force and then easily killed. The feeling of being slapped in the face was really cool. Lin Tian smiled. Then, in the next moment, the rainbow divine sword in his hand emitted a divine radiance. Suddenly, it vibrated on its own and turned into a rainbow light that shot into his forehead. In the blink of an eye, it returned to the bottom of his sea of consciousness and settled down like a rock. It's time, he muttered to himself. With his current cultivation, although he could occasionally summon the rainbow divine sword, he could not control it for a long time. And Shui stared at him with her eyes wide open. What on earth is that sword of yours? It's simply too exaggerated. You actually have such a divine weapon? It feels like an ultimate emperor weapon. It's too terrifying. As far as she knew, Even the most powerful treasures of the grand ancient clans in the 12 immortal planes were nowhere near as terrifying as the seven-colored divine sword that Lin Tian had summoned. The presence of the sword seemed to truly be able to suppress everything in the world, making it impossible for anything to stop it. Just as you think it's a powerful ancient weapon, Lin Tiandao and Shui nodded. Then, she asked doubtfully, but since you have such a terrifying ancient weapon, why did you ask the little guy to deal with the Jia family's patriarch and the others when you walked out of the Lord Theological Seminary a few months ago? If you summoned that sword, you could have killed everyone at that time. Qin Jingyan would not have been able to escape at that time, because the probability of summoning that sword is very small. He can't control it as he wishes now. He can only summon it when the divine sword acts strangely on its own. Wuxing Crocodile spoke for Lin Tiandao. The people in this place were all old friends and were absolutely trustworthy. Therefore, there was nothing to hide about this matter. And Shui was moved. She looked at Lin Tian and asked, "Is that so?" She looked even more curious and strange. "It's just a sword. Why does it sound like it has its own consciousness? It will only let you use it when it's happy?" Lin Tian, "Well, you can put it that way." He smiled. Then, he felt a little helpless. After saying that, he did not continue to talk about this matter. He raised his hand and grabbed the flesh shells of Zhu Yun and Qin Jingyan. The flesh shells of these two were deliberately left behind by him. One of them was at the half-step true immortal realm, while the other was at the early stage of the immortal king realm. The life essence contained in the flesh shells was absolutely amazing. If they refined it with the saint refining technique, their cultivation would definitely increase again in a short period of time. At least, they could reach the height of the heavenly immortal realm from the half-step heavenly immortal realm. "Let's go. Find a place to refine it." Wuxing Crocodile's eyes lit up. At this time, Lin Tian left the flesh shells of these two people. It naturally knew what Lin Tian was planning. Lin Tian nodded. Then, the group quickly found a hidden cave in the mountain range. Lin Tianyi carved dozens of formations. Then, he sat down cross-legged in the cave and let little Taichu guard them. "You all can refine it. I don't need it." And Shui shook her head repeatedly after learning about the process of the saint refining technique. She was unwilling to cultivate it. After all, she was a girl. She would feel a little conflicted if a girl like her refined corpses to strengthen herself. Lin Tian could guess what Shui was thinking. He nodded and said, "All right. When we find other valuable heavenly treasures later, we'll let you use them first." And Shui was with them. She was their companion. He would never be selfish when it came to companions and friends. Then, Ling Yun, Bai Ziki, White Tiger, and Wuxing Crocodile surrounded the flesh shells of Zhu Yun and Qin Jingyan. They each used the saint refining technique to refine the flesh shells of these two immortal kings and half-step true immortals. For a moment, different kinds of divine light and demonic light intertwined, illuminating the entire cave. Buzz! Lin Tian used the saint refining technique. The golden divine light outside his body became denser. His essence, qi, and spirit rose rapidly. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Half a month later, on this day, the golden divine light outside his body became weaker. Then it was gradually absorbed into his body. Then, in the next moment, he opened his eyes. Two rays of light flashed in his eyes. "You're not going to continue refining?" And Shui saw him open his eyes. The golden divine light outside his body had also disappeared. She could not help but ask softly, "I don't need to refine it for now." Lin Tian smiled and said, in half a month, he had used the saint refining technique to absorb the life essence of the immortal king's flesh shells to strengthen himself. At this time, he had reached the end of the half-step heavenly immortal realm. With a single thought, he could step into the true heavenly immortal realm. Then, the heavenly immortal realm tribulation would descend. Therefore, at this time, he did not need to continue refining to strengthen himself. He stopped and had to prepare to deal with the heavenly immortal realm tribulation. In fact, he already had a plan for how to deal with the heavenly immortal realm tribulation. After all, He had thought about this problem after reaching the half-step heavenly immortal realm through a few months of fighting with the ferocious beasts. He looked at Baiziki and the others. They were still refining with the saint refining technique to strengthen themselves. He stood up and walked to the side, quietly waiting for the 2 men and 2 beasts. When the 2 men and 2 beasts finished refining the 2 immortal kings' flesh shells with the saint refining technique, he would find a place to transcend the heavenly tribulation. After that, another half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Half a month later, the 2 immortal kings' flesh shells were completely shriveled. The life essence contained within was completely refined and completely disappeared. Baiziki, the white tiger, the whooshing crocodile, and Ling Yun had all stepped into the heavenly immortal realm. The essence, qi, and spirit that they emitted had another qualitative improvement. Moreover, the Tao power that the 3 of them emitted had become even more shocking. A new immortal Tao aura vaguely appeared. This was because after a cultivator's cultivation reached the heavenly immortal realm, they could comprehend new immortal Tao laws. I've finally reached the heavenly immortal realm. The whooshing crocodile was slightly excited. Going from a mystic immortal to a heavenly immortal was a qualitative transformation. It's more comfortable to break through in this way. It's too tiring to break through by fighting with the ferocious beasts. The white tiger was very useless. Ling Yun also seemed a little excited. On the other side, Baiziki was silently feeling his own strength. Kid, why are you still at the half-step heavenly immortal realm? At this moment, the white tiger looked at Lin Tian curiously. I'm going to transcend the tribulation. Lin Tian Dao. The white tiger immediately understood. Yes, yes, yes. How could you forget about it? As it spoke, it looked at Lin Tian and could not help but click its tongue. Kid, you must have done a lot of outrageous things in your previous life. Otherwise, why would you be so unlucky in this life to be chased by the heavenly tribulation all the way to death? Lin Tian could not help but feel a few black lines appear on his forehead. He really wanted to kick it away. Did this idiot know how to speak? He glanced at it and said to Baiziki, Ling Yun, and the others, go find a spacious and desolate place. I'll go through the heavenly immortal tribulation. As he spoke, he raised his head and looked at the extreme southwest of the 8 Desolates' ancient vein. When I succeed, we'll come back and take a look at that place. Chapter 1707. In this ancient vein, the extreme southwest direction was indeed a little extraordinary. It was a strange place, and there might be extraordinary treasures hidden there. Since he had found it, he naturally had to go there to have a look. However, at this time, the tribulation should be his first priority. Therefore, he had to go through the celestial immortal tribulation first, and then turn back and go to that place. On the other hand, he was not worried that other people would get to that place first, because there were no traces of people nearby. Most importantly, ordinary people would not be able to discover the abnormality there. Let's go. He called out to Baiziki and the others, and asked little Taichu to open a space portal, and directly jumped out of the ancient vein. After about an hour, little Taichu opened the space portals again and again, and found a very deserted area in the central region. There were no signs of human habitation within a radius of millions of miles, and there was no other life. Lin Tian naturally stopped at this place. This place was very suitable for him to go through the heavenly tribulation. Go and wait for me in the distance, he said to Baiziki and the others, and then asked little Taichu to stay near this place to protect him. After that, if he faced a real threat of death in the celestial immortal tribulation, little Taichu would immediately help. In fact, with little Taichu's strength, little Taichu could actually help him break through the celestial immortal tribulation. After all, little Taichu was now in the middle stage immortal king realm and was from the immortal spirit royal family. His combat strength was terrifying, and it would not be difficult for him to break through the celestial immortal tribulation. However, he was not willing to let little Taichu help him through the heavenly tribulation, because although the heavenly tribulation was terrifying, it was also an experience for him. There would be a lot of benefits if he relied on his own strength to go through it. He stood at the center of this wasteland and took a deep breath. After that, with a slight thought, The golden divine radiance outside his body seethed as he started to charge into the heavenly immortal realm. After that, merely a few breaths of time passed before the golden divine radiance outside his body became even more dazzling and seething, while a strand of powerful energy suddenly swept out from within his body. At this moment, he directly broke through to the celestial immortal realm. Boom! In an instant, ear-piercing thunder resounded through the sky. The sky in this place instantly turned pitch black. A huge thundercloud vortex intertwined in the sky in the blink of an eye. Streaks of blood-red lightning boiled in it, as if they wanted to destroy everything. In the face of this lightning, crackling sounds rang out. The space within a radius of several dozen miles shattered inch by inch, collapsing inch by inch. Spatial turbulence poured out wantonly, completely unable to withstand the destructive might of this lightning. The fluctuations of the might of lightning seemed capable of easily annihilating any cultivator below the Immortal King realm, and its aura was terrifying and horrifying. This guy's heavenly tribulation is so terrifying every time. It's simply destruction for the sake of destruction. Whooshing Crocodile said, "Monster, pervert." And Shui said, "Originally, cultivators could only attract heavenly tribulations when they were in the immortal ascension realm. However, Lin Tian attracted heavenly tribulations every time he stepped into a higher realm. Moreover, the heavenly tribulations he attracted each time were so exaggerated and horrifying that it really shocked her." Bai Ziki was silent. Only his eyes shone brightly as he stared at Lin Tian in the center of the distance without blinking. Boom! Thunder rumbled as a black lightning vortex spun in the sky. Strands of blood-red lightning interweaved within it and collapsed inch after inch of space, causing the ground to tremble violently as well. After that, numerous cracks that were like spiderwebs appeared. Lin Tian stood calmly on the ground, looking up at the pitch-black thundercloud in the sky. His eyes were very calm. "Come on," he muttered to himself. The light of lightning intertwined around his body. At this moment, he directly activated the 5 heavenly thunders technique. It was also at this moment that the sky shook violently, accompanied by another terrifying thunder. The first round of heavenly punishment pressed down, forming a huge lightning beam. It directly pierced through the void, creating a large tunnel, and pressed straight down on Lin Tian. The power of this attack was so powerful that even a peak celestial immortal expert would be moved because it was really a little terrifying. However, Lin Tian was very calm. He was not afraid at all. He directly greeted the heavenly punishment with a punch. The silver lightning of the 5 heavenly thunders technique intertwined at the tip of his fist, colliding directly with the first round of heavenly punishment. At that moment, with a boom, the void in all directions collapsed. The first round of heavenly punishment was shattered by his punch. How scary! And Shui shrank her neck. Lin Tian had just stepped into the celestial immortal realm, but a simple punch had such terrifying power. She estimated that the punch just now could destroy a peak celestial immortal expert with a single punch. Boom! In the sky, the thunder roared again, and an even more terrifying destructive aura appeared. At this time, the second round of heavenly punishment directly manifested. It was a group of mountains formed by lightning. Every thunder mountain seemed to be able to crush everything. It was unknown how many times stronger than the first round of heavenly punishment. It was on a completely different level. With the appearance of this round of heavenly punishment, the world in all directions shook. With the force of thunder, it pressed down on Lin Tian again. Facing this heavenly punishment, the white tiger could not help but tremble. It only felt that this heavenly punishment could instantly destroy a peak celestial immortal's body and soul. There was no chance for it to resist this heavenly punishment at all. It was completely unstoppable. With a rumble, this round of heavenly punishment was extremely fast. The group of thunder mountains shook and pressed down on Lin Tian's head in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian naturally felt how powerful this round of heavenly punishment was, but he still did not have the slightest fear. The silver lightning intertwining around his body fluctuated slightly and then disappeared. Then, in the next moment, strands of blue electric arcs surged out of his body. With a sizzling sound, the intertwining thunder aura was much stronger than the previous silver electric arcs. Whoosh! With a soft sound, blue lightning trembled from his body and struck up against the sky. Then, in the blink of an eye, the blue lightning collided with the second round of heavenly punishment. Immediately, with a boom, everything around was destroyed. The second round of heavenly punishment disappeared in the blink of an eye. This round of heavenly punishment was destroyed so easily, and Shui was shocked. In the sky, the thunder was still roaring, and the world became even darker. Lin Tian stood in the same place, the blue lightning outside his body crackling from time to time. He looked up at the sky and said, "Continue." The 5 heavenly thunder spell that he mastered had the ability to restrain the heavenly punishment to a certain extent. There were a total of 5 stages from low to high. The corresponding colors of the thunder in the 5 stages were silver, blue, purple, red, and black. Now, the blue lightning intertwining around his body was the sign that his 5 heavenly thunder spell had reached the second stage, which was far more powerful than the first stage. Boom! 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 In the sky, 3 thunderbolts sounded in a row. The third, fourth, and fifth round of heavenly punishment appeared together. In an instant, an even more terrifying thunder might surged, and the world was completely shrouded in this destructive thunder might. Lin Tian was fearless. The blue lightning outside his body boiled, and he directly went against the sky, attacking the 3 rounds of heavenly punishment. Chapter 1708. The heavenly tribulation was a calamity, full of destruction. However, at the same time, the destructive power of the strongest, most righteous, most young, and most unyielding contained many possibilities. Using this kind of heavenly tribulation to temper divine weapons could be said to be the best way to polish them. Lin Tian summoned the immortal Emperor Pagoda. Now that his cultivation level had reached the heavenly immortal level, his divine weapon of origin had also become a heavenly immortal weapon. At this time, he summoned the immortal Emperor Pagoda and used the power of the heavenly tribulation to reforge his divine weapon of origin. With this destructive lightning, he made it even purer and stronger. Boom! Thunder roared, shaking the surroundings. The immortal Emperor Pagoda trembled under the lightning. The blue power of the 5 heaven-shocking thunderbolts provided a certain degree of resistance, allowing the immortal Emperor Pagoda to withstand the destructive tempering of the heavenly tribulation while also shattering the other destructive lightning. In an instant, the immortal Emperor Pagoda rumbled. Cracks appeared on the surface of the immortal Emperor Pagoda, and the purple primordial light it emitted gradually became purer. Then the third, fourth, and fifth main lightning punishment were destroyed. Outside Lin Tian's body, the blue power of the 5 heaven-shocking thunderbolts flashed and crackled, causing the void to rumble. He used his essence, qi, and spirit to adjust the immortal Emperor Pagoda, causing the cracks on it to slowly heal. The primordial light it emitted became even more shocking and purer. Boom! In the sky, thunder rumbled. The 6th main lightning punishment appeared. A thunderstorm came down, and the destructive aura was even stronger. Lin Tian looked at the thunderstorm, and his eyes flashed. After a pause, he took the initiative to charge into the sky. The immortal Emperor Pagoda circled around him and followed him into the sky. The thunderous roar was deafening. In an instant, the immortal Emperor Pagoda was drowned by the lightning along with his body. With a crisp crack, the immortal Emperor Pagoda was shattered. The main lightning punishment this time was much stronger than the previous 5 rounds of main lightning punishments. Poof! At the same time, blood splattered everywhere. Rays of heavenly tribulation light landed on Lin Tian's body, causing blood and flesh to splatter everywhere. Then, after a few breaths of time, his heavenly immortal level body was smashed into pieces. In the distance, the expressions of whooshing crocodile and enchantment changed. When it comes to the sixth round of thunder punishment, he can no longer withstand it. This kind of heavenly tribulation is simply too frightening. Who has just entered the celestial realm can survive this kind of heavenly tribulation? The white tiger said. Although it said so, it wasn't worried about Lin Tian's safety. This was because the intermediate stage, Immortal King Little Taichu, was still here. It could help Lin Tian end this destructive heavenly tribulation at any time. He did it on purpose. At the side, Baiziki suddenly spoke, his eyes shining brightly. Hearing this, White Tiger immediately revealed a puzzled expression. On purpose? What do you mean? It looked at the center of the heavenly tribulation and said, Are you saying that he made the heavenly tribulation shatter himself? Next to him, the whooshing crocodile and enchantment also looked at Baiziki. He wants to use this heavenly tribulation to become stronger. Baiziki said, Just now, he could clearly feel the terrifying and tyrannical power of the blue 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique that Lin Tian displayed. With the power of the blue lightning, it was definitely not difficult to destroy the sixth round of the heavenly tribulation. However, Lin Tian directly faced the sixth round of the heavenly tribulation without using the blue lightning at all. Therefore, he was sure that Lin Tian did it on purpose. He wanted to use the power of the heavenly tribulation to polish himself like a magic weapon. Boom! In the center of the heavenly tribulation, thunder rumbled in the sky, and destructive lightning struck down again and again. Lin Tian was at the center of the heavenly tribulation. His body was shattered, but after a few dozen breaths, he endured the sixth round of the heavenly tribulation. In the next moment, his shattered flesh wriggled and gurgled. Before long, his body was reformed. Sizzling sounds intertwined outside his body. Although he did not use the 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique or the immortal way of thunder, at this time, there were still strands of shocking lightning appearing on the surface of his body. His aura was very shocking. A little stronger. He clenched his fists slightly and muttered to himself. Just as Baiziki said, he did let the heavenly tribulation shatter his body on purpose. With the destructive lightning as the origin power, he treated his body as a magic weapon to be polished under the power of the heavenly tribulation. He wanted to use this to make himself stronger. Boom! The sky shook, and thunder rumbled again. The 7th, 8th, and 9th rounds of the heavenly tribulation came down together. Facing these 3 rounds of even more terrifying heavenly tribulation, Lin Tian's eyes were intertwined with rays of light, and he rushed up again. Puff! Blood splattered. One of his arms was directly shattered, and blood splattered in all directions. However, his expression did not change at all. He did not use the power of the 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique and let the destructive heavenly tribulation fall on his body, one after another, shattering every part of his body. His entire celestial-level body turned into a bloody mist once again. Then, puff, 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 puff. The 3 rounds of the heavenly tribulation seemed to crush the world, causing his body to shatter even more thoroughly. Pieces of blood, minced flesh, and bone fragments floated in the air. It was a shocking sight. Gurgle! The sound of flesh and blood wriggling was heard. He forcibly endured the 3 rounds of the heavenly tribulation and reformed his body with difficulty. Then, he clenched his fist and immediately felt an even stronger power. At this time, his pure physical body had directly broken through a limit. Even if he was facing an early-stage immortal king, he was completely fearless. The divine power in his body had obviously become more vigorous and shocking. His divine sense and divine soul were also obviously much stronger. Moreover, under the situation of using this kind of heavenly tribulation to forcibly temper his body, his cultivation was also rising. He took a deep breath and looked at the rolling thunder in the sky. The light in his eyes became even brighter. Come on! Almost at the instant his words fell, another round of the heavenly tribulation fell with a bang. This was a monstrous waterfall of lightning. Wherever it passed, nothing could be preserved. Everything was shattered. Lin Tian was fearless. His eyes were bright. He did not make any counterattack and rushed into this round of the heavenly tribulation again. Puff! The ferocious and terrifying 10th round of the main lightning punishment directly smashed him to pieces. Then, like the previous rounds of the heavenly tribulation, the 10th round of the heavenly tribulation did not disperse immediately. It continued to crush his broken body with destructive lightning power, causing his already broken body to shatter even more. And Shui and the others who saw this scene, except for Baiziki, could not help but shudder. He did not resist and forcibly endured the power of the heavenly tribulation. He used this destructive heavenly tribulation to temper himself and cultivate. He is really ruthless to himself. He is really crazy. White Tiger could not help but gulp. Chapter 1709. At this time, after Baiziki, the White Tiger and the others realized that Lin Tian had indeed deliberately allowed himself to be struck by the heavenly tribulation light. He was completely unprepared, which made them a little shocked. This guy is really, and Shui shrunk his neck. Since ancient times, when cultivators underwent heavenly tribulations, they would do everything they could to shatter the lightning of heavenly tribulation. But now, Lin Tian was taking the initiative to endure such lightning with his body, using it to temper his body for cultivation. This was simply a little crazy. Boom! Thunder surged and rolled, and a destructive aura pressed down. The 10th round of heavenly tribulation light kept crushing Lin Tian's broken body, causing the aura he emitted to become much weaker, as if it was about to be destroyed. Soon, another dozen breaths passed, and the 10th round of heavenly tribulation light finally turned into a faint light and disappeared. In the void, blood spilled, minced flesh was everywhere, and bones were scattered all over the ground. Goyulu, faint golden light intertwined, and his flesh and blood wriggled. Soon, Lin Tian's body was reformed. At this moment, his face was a little pale, and his aura was much weaker, but the light in his eyes was more intense. However, even though his face had become very pale and his aura had become very weak, he could feel the changes in his body and his sea of consciousness. They were obviously stronger than before. Moreover, his cultivation level had also increased a lot compared to the beginning. At this time, after continuously enduring several rounds of heavenly tribulation light, his flesh and blood had digested and absorbed some of the power of the heavenly tribulation to a certain extent. His cultivation level was about to reach the middle stage of the early stage of the heaven immortal realm. Obviously, although he had suffered a lot of damage from forcibly enduring the power of the heavenly tribulation, he had also gained a lot of benefits. Boom! Thunder roared, as if a sacred drum had been beaten. In the dark sky, a thunder vortex rotated, and the 11th round of heavenly tribulation light appeared. It was many times more terrifying than the 10th round of heavenly tribulation light, as if it could destroy everything. Lin Tian's face was slightly pale. He had expended a lot of energy, but he showed no fear in the face of this even more terrifying main lightning punishment. He continued to use his body to forcefully endure it, using the destructive heavenly tribulation to temper himself. After that, the main lightning punishment of the heavenly tribulation struck down one after another. In the blink of an eye, there were 16 rounds of lightning punishment. Lin Tian's fleshly body had withstood dozens of rounds of the main lightning punishment, and his spirit energy had been weakened to the lowest point. However, he had become much stronger than when he had just stepped into the early stage of Heaven Immortal, and his cultivation base had reached the pinnacle of the early stage of Heaven Immortal. Boom! Another clap of thunder reverberated in the air. The 17th round of the main thunder punishment came crashing down in the form of a huge thunderstar. It was as if a part of the starry sky had transformed from thunder and lightning. Before it could even reach Lin Tian, it had already caused cracks to appear on his body. Without a doubt, this round of lightning punishment was unimaginably terrifying. Lin Tian stood under the 17th round of the main thunder punishment. His eyes narrowed slightly, and then he tilted his head to look at little Taichu beside him. Without any resistance, he had continuously endured more than 10 rounds of the primary lightning punishment to temper his body and cultivate. He had now reached his limit. No matter what, the 17th round of the primary lightning punishment was not something he could withstand in his current state. After all, although his cultivation had become stronger than before, he had suffered too heavy of an injury in the process. At this moment, he was unable to display the battle strength that matched his current cultivation. Not far away, little Taichu naturally understood what Lin Tian meant. He immediately flew over, and with a gentle shake of the wings behind him, a large amount of six-colored divine light shot toward the sky. Chi! 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 Soft sounds rang out one after another. The thunder stars were shattered one by one, and the 17th round of the main thunder punishment was annihilated in the blink of an eye. Although this main thunder punishment was terrifying, it was only a celestial immortal tribulation. However, the little guy was at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm, and he was from the immortal spirit royal family. Therefore, it was naturally easy for him to shatter this heavenly tribulation. Lin Tian stood aside, circulating the Heart Sutra of Sun to regulate his breathing. At the same time, he used his mind to gather the purple fragments beside him. These were the fragments of the immortal Emperor Pagoda that had been shattered by the celestial immortal tribulation. At this time, he called these fragments back and nourished them with his divine thought of origin and golden divine power, allowing these fragments to quickly reform. In the blink of an eye, the complete immortal Emperor Pagoda was reformed, and the purple Hong Ming divine light became even more shocking. On the surface of the pagoda, there were more thunder marks, and the whole pagoda was more majestic, as if it could suppress everything. Good, Lin Tian said to himself. This pagoda was his divine origin weapon. He had tempered it many times with the heavenly tribulation, and was very satisfied with the evolution of this pagoda. Now, this pagoda was the same as his cultivation, an early-stage celestial immortal weapon. However, its power was absolutely terrifying. Even if it collided with an ordinary immortal king weapon, it would not be too difficult. At least it would not be easily destroyed. Dong! The sky trembled, and the pitch-black thunder vortex spun. The world became even darker, and the destructive aura became stronger. Within the black lightning vortex, streaks of lightning shadows appeared. There were angels with broken wings, headless knights, immortals with broken arms, ferocious ghosts, ferocious beasts, and blind blood shadows. In an instant, it caused the world to tremble. The destructive aura was countless times more terrifying than the previous 17 main lightning tribulations combined. This aura, White Tiger sucked in a breath of cold air. Looking at these thunder shadows, it could not help but tremble. It was really too terrifying, as if it could destroy everything. Lin Tian stood in the center of the heavenly tribulation. He could feel that this was the last round of main thunder punishment of the celestial immortal tribulation. At the same time, he could also feel how terrifying and shocking this round of main thunder punishment was. At the same time, he frowned slightly. This was because in the recent heavenly tribulations, the last round of main thunder punishment was always like this. It was hard for him not to be moved. However, although he was moved, he did not care too much. After all, even if he cared, he could not figure it out. Boom! With the sound of thunder, the entire sky collapsed. The 18th round of main thunder punishment, with an aura of destruction, pressed down on Lin Tian. Wherever it passed, everything was destroyed. "Yeah," little Taichu murmured in a childish voice. The six-colored divine light surged and turned into a six-colored divine wave that hit the sky. In the blink of an eye, the six-colored divine light collided with the 18th round of main thunder punishment. The thunder shadows were immediately shattered. Then, the 18th round of main thunder punishment disappeared completely. The pitch-black thunder vortex in the sky also slowly dissipated. The sky became bright again. "I finally made it through." In the distance, whooshing crocodile said, with the little Taichu, an intermediate immortal king, protecting him, successfully passing this heavenly tribulation is inevitable. And Shui said. Then, He could not help but roll his eyes. He glanced at Lin Tian from afar and said, "However, this guy is simply too reckless. He's too crazy. He actually used such a method to train himself. He's really too cruel to himself." Exactly. The white tiger felt the same way. Waiziki did not say anything. He just stared at Lin Tian in front of him. There, the ground had completely collapsed and was in ruins. Buzz! The sky became bright. 7-colored auspicious clouds quickly condensed and appeared in the sky directly above Lin Tian's head. They directly projected a large amount of 7-colored divine light, enveloping Lin Tian in it. This was the gift after the heavenly tribulation. It contained an extremely astonishing power. Lin Tian took a deep breath. Then, the heart sutra of sun that was already circulated even faster. It quickly absorbed the 7-colored divine light and refined it to strengthen his body. At the same time, it also nourished the immortal Emperor Pagoda. In the blink of an eye, under the 7-colored divine light after the heavenly tribulation, his injuries were healed. His essence, chi, and spirit were restored to their peak and continued to rise. His cultivation was also rapidly becoming stronger. After that, in the blink of an eye, half a quarter of an hour passed. After half a quarter of an hour, at this moment, an astonishing force swayed from his body, crushing a large area of the void on the spot. Middle stage immortal realm. A glimmer of light flashed across his eyes. Chapter 17:10. Divine radiance interweaved on the surface of his body, blazing and powerful. Lin Tian's eyes were filled with traces of light. During the process of transcending the heavenly tribulation, he had continuously endured more than 10 rounds of the heavenly tribulation's main lightning punishment. His flesh and blood had absorbed the tyrannical power of lightning, and his cultivation had already reached the peak of the early stage of the heaven immortal realm. Then, now that he had transcended this heavenly tribulation and welcomed the power of the rainbow auspicious clouds, he naturally broke through to the mid-stage of the heaven immortal realm in a short period of time. He clenched his fists slightly and sensed the changes in himself. His physique had become stronger, his sea of consciousness had become vaster, and his soul had become tougher. His combat strength was obviously much stronger than when he was at the early stage of the heaven immortal realm. It was as if they were no longer on the same level. This guy has reached the mid-stage of the heaven immortal realm. That's too fast. In the distance, the white tiger could not help but stare. It's indeed very fast. And Shui nodded, then rolled his eyes and said, "However, you have to see how he cultivated. That's a breakthrough that he forcefully endured." "That's true. It's a pity that he could endure it all the time." The white tiger nodded and said, "If it was me, I would definitely not do such a thing. It's simply self-torture, and it's not an ordinary kind of self-torture." It had endured more than 10 rounds of the primary lightning tribulation in a row without putting up any resistance. Its body had been shattered time and time again, and even cracks had appeared on its soul. The kind of pain was extremely shocking, and it was absolutely unable to endure it. At the same time, Lin Tian, who was able to endure that kind of pain, had his cultivation rise rapidly. Naturally, success was achieved when the conditions were right. Buzz! In front of him, at the center of the ground, Lin Tian's body was surrounded by golden light, and there were strands of dense Tao light interweaving. After transcending the heavenly immortal tribulation and reaching the heaven immortal realm, his understanding of the nameless Tao law and the thunder immortal Tao had become stronger. At the same time, he could clearly sense more immortal Taos floating around him. "Cut, split, rain, fire, forest," he muttered to himself. After reaching the celestial immortal realm, a cultivator could comprehend and control more of the immortal Tao. At this time, he had stepped into the celestial immortal realm and could naturally sense more of the immortal Tao. He stood in place, his eyes closed in meditation, using his own divine sense to circle the surroundings, comprehending the many immortal Taos in the surroundings. In the blink of an eye, another quarter of an hour had passed. The rainbow-colored auspicious clouds in the sky fluctuated and quickly dissipated. It was also at this time that the Tao light around Lin Tian's body became denser. After the thunder immortal Tao, he began to comprehend the second immortal Tao. Of course, he whispered, even among the thousands of immortal Taos, the immortal Tao of nature was one of the top immortal Taos. Although it wasn't very outstanding in terms of attack, it had miraculous power in terms of defense and comprehension. Moreover, the immortal Tao of nature could, to a certain extent, borrow the power of nature at any time and anywhere for his own use. Together with the dragon burial scripture that he controlled, he would definitely be able to unleash the power of both. It was a very good choice for his future battles. He extended his divine sense of origin and immersed it into the immortal Tao of nature that he sensed, earnestly comprehending it. It had to be said that back then, before he stepped into the great virtue realm, he had once comprehended the great Tao of nature when he accidentally entered a meditative state and had a very good understanding of it. Therefore, it was much easier for him to comprehend the higher level immortal Tao of nature. It could be said that he was very familiar with it, and he quickly comprehended it to a certain extent. He used the divine sense of origin that had immersed itself into the immortal Tao of nature to quickly draw out 9 balls of immortal essence of nature into his body. Soon, these 9 balls of immortal essence merged together, causing a very thick Tao light of nature to surge around his body in the blink of an eye. Seeing this Tao light of nature in the distance, Ziki and the others were slightly moved. He comprehended the second immortal Tao, and it's the very top immortal Tao of nature. The white tiger muttered, "The immortal Tao of nature was extraordinary and very shocking. Ordinary people couldn't comprehend it." Lin Tian stood in the center of the front, with Tao lights surging around his body. He carefully comprehended the immortal Tao of nature, and in the blink of an eye, a full hour had passed. After an hour, he opened his eyes, and there was a flash of light of nature in his eyes. At the same time, the Tao light of nature outside his body also disappeared into his body. Huff! He exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and his entire aura became incomparably calm, as if he had merged with nature. Little Taichu cried out in a childish voice. At this moment, it flew over and landed on his head. Then, it poked its little head out to look at him, blinking its big eyes. Obviously, it felt that Lin Tian's aura was very strange at this moment. Lin Tian smiled and rubbed the little guy's head. He took a step back and appeared in front of Ling Yun and the others in just one step. "TSK, your speed has become faster, and your aura has become as calm as a mirror. However, I feel that you've become even more monstrous." Whooshing Crocodile concluded. Lin Tianten smiled. "Let's go back to the 8 Desolation Ancient Range and see what's in the southwest. Let's go. Let's try to dig out a pile of immortal dragon marrow there," the white tiger said. Then the group left. Lin Tian raised his hand and tore open a spatial tunnel, which was filled with silver light. Now that he had stepped into the Heaven Immortal Realm and reached the mid-stage of the Heaven Immortal Realm, it was enough for him to tear open a spatial portal in a large environment like the Immortal Realm. He opened the spatial portal to the 8 Desolation Ancient Range in this place. Then the group stepped directly into it and disappeared on the spot in the blink of an eye. Darkness covered the group's vision in an instant. Then, in the next moment, light appeared, and the group was shocked out of the spatial portal by a huge force and landed on solid ground again. Roar! Roar! As far as the eye could see, the ancient trees in their field of vision were all thick and tall. It was a continuous ancient mountain range, and there were shocking beast roars and bird cries echoing in it. It was deafening, and the demonic chi in the air was very shocking. When the group arrived here, Lin Tian looked directly at the southwest of the mountain range and said, "Let's go." The group flew in the air, and their speed was not slow. Roar! The beast's roar was terrifying. There was a ferocious beast at the peak of the Heaven Immortal Realm that rushed out, and its body was filled with a mighty bloody aura as it pounced on the group. Lin Tian led the way at the front. At this moment, he casually slapped out and landed on the huge, ferocious beast that pounced over. Puff! Blood splattered, and the ferocious beast that pounced over was directly smashed into pieces by the slap. Even its demonic soul was annihilated. The group could not help but be moved by this scene. One had to know that the ferocious beast just now was comparable to the peak of the heaven immortal realm. Such a ferocious beast was actually killed by Lin Tian, who was at the mid-stage of the heaven immortal realm, with a casual slap. It was really shocking. What a freak! And Shui muttered. Needless to say, such combat strength was truly terrifying. Lin Tian seemed to be very calm instead. With his reincarnation king physique and his ability to successively endure the baptism of over 10 heavenly tribulations, even if he killed a half-step immortal king realm expert now, it would be as easy as cutting grass for him, and it wouldn't be difficult at all. So, slapping a ferocious beast comparable to a cultivator at the peak of the heavenly immortal realm to death with a single slap was really nothing. He was at the front and led the group towards the southwest of the ancient mountain range. In the blink of an eye, they'd traveled very far, and then another hour passed before they finally arrived at the southwest area. Roar! The roars of beasts and cries of birds became extremely dense in this area, and an extremely large number of ferocious beasts resided here. In their field of vision, a random pangolin that was only around 7 inches long was crawling through this area, yet the demonic chi on its body was extremely strong, and it was at the half-step immortal king realm. On the other side, a feathered bird was circling in the sky, and it was comparable to an immortal king. Further away, a dark python was coiled around the peak of an enormous mountain. Its demonic chi was terrifying to the extreme, and it was at the half-step true god realm. Moreover, demonic mist surged around its body, and it was extremely shocking. Could this area be the core area of the ancient mountain range? Aren't the demon beasts here a little too exaggerated? Even the weakest is at the half-step immortal king realm. This is really... The white tiger stared with its eyes wide open. It had attained the initial stage of the heavenly immortal realm now, but when it arrived here at this moment and saw the numerous ferocious beasts in this area, it couldn't help but shudder, because all the ferocious beasts here were truly formidable to a terrifying degree. It feels like they've gathered here intentionally, the whooshing crocodile said, and Shui felt the same way. It does look very similar. Moreover, it seems like they've gathered here for some purpose. Lin Tian also had the same feeling. He was slightly puzzled, but he didn't pay too much attention to it. After a pause, he opened his delusion breaker divine eye and looked at the place where he first discovered the interweaving immortal light and Tao light in this area. That place was a canyon. It wasn't too big, but it wasn't too small either. Most of the vegetation inside seemed very ordinary, but they all had a hint of spirituality. Now that he had reached the mid-stage of the heavenly immortal realm, he used his delusion breaker divine eye to quickly see strands of immortal light and Tao light jumping around in the canyon, appearing and disappearing from time to time. Kid, how is it? The whooshing crocodile asked. Beside him, the others also looked at him. They all knew that he, who controlled the dragon burial scripture, was the best at analyzing the situation of heaven and earth. Lin Tian's eyes interwove with dragon runes, and the natural, immortal light flashed. After looking for a while, he couldn't help but frown slightly. There, a strange glint flashed through his eyes. Now that he had mastered the natural immortal Tao, he could use it with the dragon burial scripture to fully understand nature and analyze the situation of heaven and earth. At this moment, he looked at the canyon in front of him and the immortal light and Tao light that appeared from time to time. He had a very strange feeling. The immortal light and Tao light in the canyon didn't seem to exist in this mountain range. Now that he had combined the natural immortal Tao with the dragon burial scripture, it felt like they were emerging from another world. He briefly explained the matter to Baiziki and the others. What? You mean there might be a portal to another world in that place? The white tiger and the whooshing crocodile widened their eyes. I'm not sure, but it's possible. Lin Tian nodded. Chapter 17:11. The little fellow looked at the canyon, and his big, bright eyes seemed a little lost at this moment. Familiar? Do you feel anything, little fellow? Hearing the little fellow's words, Lin Tian was slightly moved. Next to him, Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others also looked at the little fellow. Yeah. The little fellow seemed a little confused at this time, and said, I don't know, but it's a little familiar. Originally, the little fellow had discovered that there was a strange light flickering in this place, but at that time, it was too far away, and only felt that it was strange and told Lin Tian, and did not feel anything. However, at this time, appearing in this place at such a close distance, and looking at the immortal light that flashed in the canyon from time to time, he felt that it was very familiar. Lin Tian frowned slightly, looked at the canyon in front of them, and said, Let's go into the canyon and take a look. Originally, they had planned to enter the canyon to explore, and felt that there was something very strange about that place. Now, the little fellow suddenly felt that the immortal light there was very familiar, so naturally, they wanted to go there. The canyon was about tens of thousands of feet away from where they were. Immediately, with him in the lead, the group of people headed toward the canyon. Soon, the group of people avoided the powerful savage beasts, and in the blink of an eye, they had crossed tens of thousands of feet. Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air was heard, and a beam of immortal light flashed in the distance, and then rushed straight toward them. Lin Tian and the others naturally saw the immortal light rushing toward them, and they all frowned slightly and stopped at the same time. In the next moment, the immortal light rushed in front of them and turned into a young girl who was like in Shui Shui. She was dressed in purple, and there was a pair of wings made of light behind her, surrounded by a gentle and gorgeous light, which made her look lively and beautiful. The fairy clan! And Shui Shui was moved. When Lin Tian saw the girl, he was surprised and recognized that she was from the fairy clan. This clan was located in the Eternal Immortal Prefecture, one of the 12 immortal prefectures. It was a super ancient clan in the Eternal Immortal Prefecture, and there was a true god powerhouse in the Eternal Immortal Prefecture. Moreover, there was an ancient legend that this clan had existed for a long time, and their ancestor, the fairy king, who had passed away, was a supreme god emperor. Then, in the next moment, he was slightly moved and felt a very familiar aura from this girl. What a pretty little girl! Ling Yun and the white tiger widened their eyes and stared at the girl in purple. Their eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. With a whoosh, the two of them came forward. Ling Yun bowed and said, Hello, beautiful lady. I am... Bang! The white tiger attacked from behind, slapping Ling Yun away and interrupting him. The white tiger looked at the fey girl and said, Little beauty, for you and I to meet, that is fate. Are you willing to travel the world with this tiger? Behind the purple-clothed girl, a pair of wings made of light lightly trembled, bringing with it a large expanse of warm radiance. In the next moment, the wings directly disappeared. His gaze landed on Lin Tian. His eyes were very bright. He directly bypassed the white tiger and agilely came to Lin Tian. Where's my sister? Where is it? She looked at Lin Tian and reached out to tug on Lin Tian's clothes, almost sticking to Lin Tian's body. She was very excited and happy. Seeing the other party's actions, Lin Tian was both puzzled and embarrassed. I don't even know who you are, and I don't even know who your sister is. How would I know where your sister is? Not only him, but even Bai Ziki and Shui Shui and the others next to him were a little stunned when they heard the girl's words. You have Big Sister's aura. I can't be wrong. You must know where Big Sister is. The girl looked at Lin Tian Dao, and she seemed even more excited. Big Sister? Lin Tian was slightly moved, and a figure involuntarily appeared in his mind. Then, he suddenly realized that he had felt a familiar aura on the girl. It turned out that it was very similar to her aura. He paused and asked the girl, What's your name? Ziyu. The girl said, Your surname is Z? Lin Tian's eyes sharpened, and Shui Shui said from the side, The Fei clan's main clan is surname Z. As she spoke, she looked at the Fei girl and muttered, It seems that your status in the Fei clan isn't low. Lin Tian knew that the Fei clan was an ancient clan in the Immortal region, but he didn't know that their main clan was surname Z. At this time, when he heard the girl call her surname Z and felt the familiar aura on her body, his heart couldn't help but thump. What does your sister look like? Oh, I haven't seen Big Sister before, so I don't know what she looks like now. The Fey girl shook her head. She paused and said, but I know Big Sister's name, Violet Fairy. Lin Tian's heart trembled again. He had already felt that this girl's aura was very familiar, and it was very similar to the source aura of the Violet Fairy. When he heard the girl's words, he thought that she might be related to the Violet Fairy, but he didn't expect that to be the case. This was the Violet Fairy's younger sister? Moreover, she was his biological sister? Violet Fairy? Whooshing Crocodile's eyes widened. Ling Yun flew back from not far away, and after hearing this, he was also shocked. Even Bai Ziki, who had always been calm, was immediately moved. It's very nice, isn't it? I heard an elder in the clan say that Big Sister is the most beautiful Fae in the history of our Fae clan. The girl seemed very proud. Perhaps it was because she felt that Lin Tian had the same aura as her bloodline, or perhaps it was because she was pure, but she didn't have any vigilance towards Lin Tianyi and the others. The Five Elements Crocodile's eyes widened even more. That demonic empress is... It looked at Lin Tian. Brat Lin, the cheap little sister you recognized, is actually from the Immortal Region's Fey clan? This is really... Ling Yun was also stunned. Lin Tian was a bit stunned. The Violet Fairy was from the Fey clan? But he had never heard the Violet Fairy mention such a thing before. Moreover, if the Violet Fairy was from the Fey clan, and the main Fey clan at that, why would she appear in the Ten Directions celestial domain? Why haven't you seen your sister? Why isn't she in the Fey clan? He asked the young Fey girl called Ziyue. Because when I was born, Big Sister was no longer in the clan. Father said that because of an accident a long time ago, Big Sister was swallowed by the chaotic space. They said that Big Sister is already dead. Ziyue said, then clenched her fists, and a light appeared in her eyes. However, I can feel that Big Sister is still alive. My origin door can feel that Big Sister's bloodline aura still exists, and it's stronger than I imagined. She continued, I snuck out from the clan. I want to find Big Sister. When Mother passed away, she kept calling Big Sister's name. As she spoke, she stared at Lin Tian, seeming even more excited. You have the same bloodline aura as me, but that aura doesn't belong to you. It doesn't come from you. It must belong to Big Sister. You know Big Sister, and you are very familiar with her, right? Take me to Big Sister. Looking at Lin Tian, Ziyue seemed very happy and excited. When Lin Tian heard this, his expression changed again. Because of the chaotic space, Ziyue was swallowed, and then accidentally fell to the Ten Directions celestial domain? If that was the case, then when Ziyue met Wu Yi, with Wu Yi's strength, she could have returned to the Fey clan in the Eternal Immortal Province as soon as she told Wu Yi. However, Ziyue didn't do so. Why was that? Was it because she lost her memories after being swallowed by the chaotic space? But after losing her memories, why did she remember her own name? Could it be because it was given to her by her birth mother? So it was deeply engraved in her heart, just like how she only remembered her own name every year after losing her strength? What's wrong? Don't be in a daze. Seeing Lin Tian in a daze, Ziyue grabbed Lin Tian's sleeve and shook it. What is your relationship with Big Sister? Can you take me to Big Sister? I want to see Big Sister. Lin Tian came back to his senses and said, if what you said is true, then I am indeed very familiar with your Big Sister. I know where she is now, boom. Suddenly, a shocking boom rang out, interrupting his words. In front of them, in the valley hundreds of thousands of feet away, various immortal spiritual lights and Tao lights jumped and suddenly became incomparably dazzling. A very thick immortal spiritual aura surged out, shockingly thick. Then, in the next moment, a huge crack appeared in the void in that place. Immortal spiritual lights intertwined and Tao lights surrounded it, as if it was connected to an unknown great world. Then, a dazzling pillar of light shot up into the sky, causing the entire central continent to tremble as if a super earthquake had occurred. Many powerful beings were shocked at this moment. This aura. Could it be that legendary ancient world? Someone found the entrance to that legendary ancient world. At this moment, all the powerful beings in the central continent exclaimed and looked at the place where the dazzling pillar of light shot up. Moreover, not only the central continent, but also the powerful beings in the other regions of the immortal realm were shocked and looked at the place where the pillar of light shot up. In the 8 Desolation Ancient Range, Lin Tion's words were interrupted. He looked directly at the valley in front of him and the huge crack where the dazzling pillar of light shot up. Inside the crack, rolling immortal spiritual aura surged, vast and boundless, as if it could suppress the heaven and earth. Beside him, Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others were also shocked. Roar! Roar! In the 8 Desolation Ancient Range, the powerful ferocious birds and beasts in this area were all excited. Demonic spiritual aura shot up into the sky, and one after another, powerful ferocious beasts charged toward the huge crack in the 8 Desolation Ancient Range. These ferocious beasts have been staring at that place all this time? Is this their purpose? They sense that there might be a strange spatial crack opening there, so they want to rush in? The White Tiger and his Shui were shocked. At the same time, beside Lin Tian, little Taichu looked at the huge crack in front of him, and his eyes became even more confused. It's so familiar, the little guy murmured. Chapter 17:12. As the spatial fissure in the canyon opened, the little fellow became even more confused, her eyes blank. Lin Tian frowned slightly at the little fellow's appearance. He let the little fellow lie on his head, then said to Ziyu, "Let's go take a look inside first, then I'll take you to your sister." The Violet Fairy had been staying at Ethereal Mountain in the 10 Directions Heaven Domain with Wu Yi, so he wasn't in a hurry to take Ziyu to her. At this time, he was more concerned about the little fellow's appearance. The little fellow felt very familiar with the aura behind the fissure, so he had to go take a look at the space behind the fissure first. Yes. Okay, then I'll go with you now." Ziyu nodded repeatedly. Although she wanted to immediately see her sister, who she had never seen before, she appeared very obedient. Lin Tian nodded, then called out to Bai Ziki and the others, and immediately stepped forward, heading toward the canyon in front of them. For a moment, the sound of air breaking rang out, and the group stepped forward in the blink of an eye. "Hey, slow down a bit." A voice rang out behind them, and the purple-clad Ziyu was left far behind in the blink of an eye. She was a bit out of breath as she chased after the group. Lin Tian stopped and looked at Ziyu with some surprise, then found that she was only at the true immortal realm. With this level of cultivation, she naturally couldn't compare to them in terms of speed, even if she had extremely pure Fey blood. After all, in terms of cultivation, she was a full 3 realms lower than them. He stopped, wrapped Ziyu in golden divine light, and led her forward. "What's your relationship with Big Sister?" Ziyu asked Lin Tian, her eyes filled with curiosity. "Oh." Lin Tian paused, then said, "Elder brother." Ziyu's eyes widened, and her delicate little mouth opened. "Liar, you're not even a Fey." "Although I haven't seen Big Sister, she was born a long time ago, but the aura on you shows that you're only a few hundred years old at most. How can you be Big Sister's elder brother?" Lin Tian smiled and said, "There are some special reasons, and it has nothing to do with race or age." Ziyu nodded. "Oh, Ziyu understands." As she spoke, she looked at Lin Tian. "Since you are Big Sister's elder brother, then you are Ziyu's elder brother." She revealed a very sweet smile. "Thank you, big brother, for flying with Ziyu." Lin Tian couldn't help but blush with shame. This girl was still doubting him a moment ago, but in the next moment, she had such an attitude. This change was really too fast, or it could be said that her thinking was too simple, causing him to be unable to keep up. "How old are you?" he asked Purple Moon. 16. Purple Moon said. She was not on guard against Lin Tian at all. 16 years old, Lin Tian blushed with shame again. Although he felt that this girl was very young, he didn't expect her to be only 16 years old. Then, he couldn't help but sigh. The cultivation environment of the celestial realm really couldn't be compared to the starry skies of the lower realm. a 16-year-old girl, had actually reached the level of a true immortal. However, he also knew that this had a lot to do with Ziyu's fairy bloodline. He could feel that her bloodline aura was extraordinary and shocking. Boom! In front of them, the void in the canyon rumbled. The spatial crack that appeared became even bigger and spread in all directions. Whoosh! 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 The sound of air being torn apart rang out one after another. In this 8 desolation ancient range, all the ferocious birds and beasts went crazy. All of them seemed to be very excited. In the blink of an eye, it evolved into a beast tide, rushing towards the big crack in front of them one after another. That scene was as if there was some super precious treasure behind the big crack, causing the ferocious beasts to be tempted. Lin Tianyi and the others were surrounded by bodies. At this time, they were also rushing forward quickly. It was also at this time that more sounds of air being torn apart rang out in the distant sky. Void doors appeared one after another, and the figures of powerhouses appeared one after another. Then, they all rushed towards the big crack in the canyon. It alarmed the other powerhouses. Whooshing Crocodile and the others were shocked. They looked back. Near the 8 desolation ancient range, the figures of cultivators appeared and rushed over quickly. Don't worry about them. Let's go. Lin Tiandao. The group of them rushed towards the big crack in the canyon. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived in front of the big crack. Roar! Many ferocious beasts rushed towards the big crack together. At the same time, when the ferocious beasts saw Lin Tian and the others approaching, they immediately attacked. Surging demonic power was like a vast ocean pressing towards the group of people. For a time, rumbling sounds could be heard. The ones who attacked were a few half-step immortal king ferocious beasts. Their demonic power was fierce and terrifying. Lin Tian didn't make any big movements. Only blue lightning appeared around his body and turned into a large thunder sword that swept out. This was the power of the second level of the 5 heavenly lightning technique. It was majestic and domineering. In the blink of an eye, it shattered all the demonic power of the half-step immortal king ferocious beasts. Then, it landed on their bodies, causing these powerful ferocious beasts to directly explode, their bodies and souls destroyed. Boom! In front of them, the void buzzed. The crack became even bigger. It was dozens of feet long and dozens of feet wide. Lin Tianyi and the others moved quickly. They didn't care about anything else and directly rushed into the big crack with the other ferocious beasts around them. This time, their field of vision didn't become dark. Instead, it was filled with all kinds of light. It was sacred, peaceful, and vast. On both sides, all kinds of immortal light flashed and retreated. It was as if they had entered a tunnel of light. Just like that, after an unknown amount of time, a large circle of light appeared in front of them. It was like a huge door. Then, the group of people was directly blasted out of the light tunnel and appeared in an unfamiliar space. Looking around, in the space in their field of vision, there were specks of immortal light dancing and jumping. They were all intertwined with a sacred and peaceful aura. However, the land in all directions of this space was very barren and dilapidated. They could see broken mountains. It was as if this place had once experienced a super earthquake or experienced a world-shaking battle. It's actually such a dilapidated land? The white tiger was surprised. The whooshing crocodile, was also stunned. Even Lin Tian couldn't help but be a little moved. Previously, the immortal light that they had sensed was extraordinary and very shocking. They all thought that the space that floated out of such extraordinary immortal light would be very shocking. They thought that there would be immortal mountains and treasures that reached the sky and all kinds of divine rivers flowing. However, they didn't expect the space behind to be so dilapidated. It was no different from a wasteland. Yeah. On top of Lin Tian's head, the little Taichu's bright eyes became even more confused. It looked back and forth at this space. It's so familiar. As it spoke, strands of 6-colored divine light suddenly intertwined around the little guy's body. As if it had sensed something, It raised its little head and looked at the center of this dilapidated space. It's so familiar. It shook its wings and rose from Lin Tian's head. As if it had sensed something, it flew towards the center of this space. Lin Tianwei frowned slightly. She didn't care that this space was a little dilapidated. She flew with the purple moon in the golden divine light. At the same time, she called by Ziki and the others to follow. In the blink of an eye, they were very far away from this place. Speaking of which, that large group of ferocious beasts and birds of prey also rushed into that big crack. Where did they go? The white tiger asked. They should also be in this space, but they were teleported to different places. Lin Tian said. This was very normal. It was just like when a group of living beings was sucked into the extreme Yin temple, they would also be teleported to different places. The group followed behind the little Tai Chu. They didn't tear through the void. Instead, they simply flew towards the center of this space. After that, several hours passed. The group traveled very far away, and it was also at this time that a series of loud rumbles came from the center of this space. Lin Tianwei frowned slightly and said to the little Tai Chu, "Little guy, let's go through the space." He could tell that the little guy wanted to go to the center of this space because he felt a very special and familiar aura. At this time, he saw that there seemed to be people fighting in the center of this space. Naturally, he was moved. He felt that at this time, it was better to tear through the void and open a space door so that they could hurry over. Immediately, he tore through the space door and brought the little Tai Chu and the purple moon. At the same time, he called for Ziki and the others to step in together. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. Their field of vision became dark for a short time. Then it became bright again. The group appeared in another location. Boom! 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 In front of them, all kinds of divine and demonic lights were vast and mighty. Densely packed figures resided in this place. There were human cultivators and ferocious birds and beasts. Some human cultivators were fighting with some ferocious beasts, but most of them were attacking an ancient pagoda in that area. The ancient pagoda was somewhat dilapidated. It had a total of 99 floors and truly towered into the sky. There were carvings of various birds and beasts on it. There were true dragons, divine phoenixes, black tortoises, vermilion birds, and many other rare spiritual beasts branded on it. At this time, many powerful cultivators and ferocious beasts were charging into the ancient pagoda. Some of the human cultivators and ferocious beasts were killing each other while they were charging into the ancient pagoda. Lin Tianyi and the others arrived at this place. When they saw the dilapidated ancient pagoda in front of them, they couldn't help but be moved. This pagoda, whooshing crocodile frowned slightly and looked at the little Tai Chu. Lin Tian also looked at the little Tai Chu. Little guy, how do you feel? This dilapidated ancient pagoda was engraved with many beast spirit marks. On it, the true dragon, divine phoenix, black tortoise, and vermilion bird imprints were the most conspicuous. They were exactly the same as the 4 protective celestial spirits of the little Tai Chu. In addition, the little guy felt a very familiar aura in this place. Therefore, he was naturally very concerned at this time. Yeah, the little guy looked at the 99 floors of the ancient pagoda. His eyes were even more dazed. The 6-colored divine light that flowed naturally around his body became denser. There seems to be something familiar inside. Chapter 17:13. Looking at the 99 floors of the ancient pagoda in front of them, the little guy seemed to be in a daze. It could not tell what was going on, but it felt that there was a very familiar aura in the ancient pagoda. Lin Tian looked at the ancient pagoda in front of them and said, "Then let's go in and have a look." Immediately, he called by Ziki and the others to go into the ancient pagoda. Boom! Around the ancient pagoda, there were many human cultivators and ferocious beasts, especially the ferocious beasts. There were so many of them that it was frightening, and the demonic aura was very strong. Lin Tianyi and the others were very fast, and it did not take them long to reach the ancient pagoda. They entered the ancient pagoda through the dilapidated pagoda. As soon as they entered the ancient pagoda, they were immediately shocked. There were clouds in the sky, mountains, and ancient streams. It was actually a world. This whooshing crocodile was surprised. Generally speaking, it was not very surprising that there was a small world in a pagoda. However, the world in this place was too extraordinary. It was vast and boundless, as if it was a real world. Even Lin Tian couldn't help but reveal a surprised expression. However, his surprise soon disappeared, and he asked little Taichu, "Little guy, where is that familiar aura?" "Yeah." Little Taichu looked at the world, paused, and looked up. "Above." "Above? There's nothing above. There's only a sky. There's nothing." White Tiger and Ling Yun looked at the sky, puzzled. It's possible that there are other large spaces above here. When it said above, it was referring to a larger space above this one. Bai Ziki said. Lin Tian nodded. That should be the case. He said, "We entered from the entrance of the first floor of the ancient pagoda, and this pagoda has a total of 99 floors. Since the first floor is such a big world, the 98 floors above may be similar spaces. The familiar aura that the little guy sensed should be in the space above." White Tiger and the others were shocked when they heard this. "You mean there are 98 similar big worlds above this big world? Every level of this ancient pagoda is a great world." The White Tiger glared at him. 99 levels of the ancient pagoda, 99 levels of heaven and earth. This was too shocking. "That's very likely." Lin Tiandao and Shueisha looked at the sky. "Then, how do we get up there?" "In this large space, there should be a path leading to the space above," Ling Yun said. "However, it will take some time to find it. After all, we don't know where the path to the top is." The White Tiger thought for a moment and said, "How about we leave this space first, and then directly enter the 98th floor of the ancient pagoda from the outside, so that Xiao Budian can sense which floor that familiar thing is on. This way, we won't have to look for the path to the upper floor of the ancient pagoda." Hearing its words, Lin Tian squinted at it. "Is it as simple as you think?" No matter how one looked at it, this ancient pagoda was definitely not ordinary. Even if it was damaged, it definitely contained unparalleled divine might. You could pass through the entrance of the first level and directly enter the space above the second level from the outside. No matter how you think about it, this is impossible. Air! The White Tiger opened its mouth. "That seems to make sense." Lin Tian ignored it and looked at the little Taichu. "Little guy, let's look for it slowly. There's no need to be too anxious." In fact, even though he said that, he could see that the little guy was only slightly dazed at this time. It seemed to be a little confused, and there was no element of anxiousness at all. "Yeah, there's no need to rush." The little guy nodded its small head, and then, after a pause, its body naturally intertwined with the six-colored divine light. In an instant, as the six-colored divine light surged out, the space instantly shook as if there was a small earthquake. Then, in the next moment, the void in front of the group twisted on its own, and a space portal slowly appeared. This scene caused the group of people to be moved. This space portal is... The White Tiger stared. Then, the group of people looked at the little Taichu. This was because the group of people could see that this space portal was open because of the six-colored divine light from the little Taichu. Little Taichu was also a little confused. Then, the little guy's eyes couldn't help but flicker. So familiar. His voice was a little confused. The little guy shook its wings and moved involuntarily, heading toward the space portal. Lin Tian looked at this scene. Is this the space portal that leads to the top? As he thought about this, he saw the little Taichu heading toward the space portal. Naturally, he didn't hesitate. He called by Ziki, Ling Yun, and the others and followed in front. This space portal was open because of the little Taichu, so he had reason to believe that there shouldn't be any danger. In fact, even if there was danger, he had to go because the little guy felt a familiar aura behind him. If the little guy wanted to go, he naturally had to follow. The space shook slightly. In the blink of an eye, he, by Ziki, and the others followed the little guy and directly stepped into the space portal. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. The space portal also disappeared together with them. At this moment, the group of people fell into darkness at the same time. Then, in the next moment, the darkness dissipated, and they appeared in another space, stepping on solid ground again. Looking around, this space was also very big. In front of them was a bamboo forest. Green bamboos lay on the ground, looking very ordinary. There was no rich, immortal spiritual energy around, and the air was very fresh and full of the smell of nature. An ordinary bamboo forest? After passing through the space portal, we came to such an ordinary bamboo forest? What's the point? The white tiger had a strange expression. It had thought that there would be an extraordinary place behind the space portal. Lin Tian didn't say anything and looked around seriously. This place looked very ordinary, but he didn't think that it was really that ordinary. There must be something special about it. Whoosh! At this moment, a light breeze suddenly appeared in this space, and the green bamboos all over the ground swayed gently. Pieces of bamboo leaves floated in the air. In the next moment, silently, a middle-aged man appeared in front of the bamboo forest. The man's body was slender, as if it was made of light, and his eyes were very peaceful. Lin Tian and the others were immediately shocked and vigilant. They didn't know how this person appeared at all. Moreover, although this person's eyes were very peaceful, he had an unconcealable majesty, as if he was an immortal god or the ruler of a great world. It was very frightening. Yeah, who are you? Next to Lin Tian, the little guy looked at the middle-aged man who suddenly appeared, and his eyes became even more confused. You're so familiar. There's a very familiar aura on you. Who are you? The man's gaze fell on the little Taichu, and he smiled. He silently appeared in front of the little Taichu, and his eyes were full of doting and gentleness. Around his body, there was naturally a six-color divine light that intertwined. Chapter 17:14. The six-colored divine radiance intertwined and circled around the middle-aged man's body, immediately causing Lin Tian and the others to be moved. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. This six-colored divine radiance was exactly the same as little Taichu's six-colored divine radiance. Could this be the little guy's? Whooshing crocodile stared. At the same time, Bai Ziki, Ling Yun, and Shui and the others were all moved. The six-colored divine radiance around the man's body directly connected them to little Taichu. The little guy was even more moved. Looking at the six-colored divine radiance around the man's body that was the same as his own, his big, bright eyes suddenly widened. Yeah, why do you have this kind of light too? This is mine. The little guy was a little curious, but also a little angry, as if his own special power had been imitated and stolen by someone else. The middle-aged man smiled, and the smile on his face became even gentler. He raised his right hand slightly, and immediately, a large amount of six-colored divine radiance surged out and quickly enveloped the little guy. Back then, when your mother gave birth to you, there was a great war. In order to ensure your absolute safety, we sent you away. Because we were in too much of a hurry, the inheritance of the ancient scriptures was not completely imprinted in your body. His eyes were very gentle as the six-colored divine radiance enveloped little Taichu. All kinds of mysterious divine patterns intertwined and quickly entered little Taichu's body. Obviously, at this moment, he was completing little Taichu's inheritance of the ancient scriptures, which contained a strange and shocking power. In the distance, Lin Tian was moved again. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, he immediately confirmed the relationship between the man and little Taichu. Little Munchkin's father? The white tiger stared. Bai Ziki and the others were also moved. Although when the middle-aged man emitted the six-colored divine radiance, they had already guessed that the man and little Taichu might be father and son. When they heard the man say this himself, they immediately confirmed it and couldn't help but be shocked. Yeah, mother. Little Taichu was enveloped by the middle-aged man's six-colored divine radiance, but it didn't struggle at all because it felt very warm and comfortable. At this moment, when it heard the man's words, its big, bright eyes couldn't help but flicker a little. It was a little happy. You are? Although the little guy's mind was still that of a child and was very simple, it was not stupid. Since the man had spoken, it naturally understood a lot. The man grinned. Divine light interweaved behind him as a snow-white spirit beast appeared. It had snow-white fur and a pair of bright and clean wings. It was exactly the same as little Grand Primordial, except that it was slightly bigger. We are connected by blood. You are my flesh and blood. The man smiled. Little Tai Chu's eyes widened even more, and then he became happy and excited. Yeah. It looked at the man in front of it and naturally didn't doubt his words. This was because it could clearly sense the incomparably intimate bloodline aura from the man. Originally, it had sensed this kind of intimate and familiar aura, which was why it came here. Why don't you? Where's Mother? The little guy didn't call out to its father, but it seemed very excited. After all, how could it not be happy to see its biological father after so long? It's just a wisp of aura that I left here to wait for you. Your mother is with my main body. She's very safe. The man said, yeah. The little guy's big, bright eyes lit up. Seeing its biological father and knowing that its parents were fine, it became even happier. Beside him, Lin Tian also smiled. Although the little guy only saw a wisp of its biological father's aura, it knew that its parents were still alive. This was the best thing. He was happy for the little guy. Back then, he was really worried that the little guy's parents were gone. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel a little ripple in his heart. Now that the little guy knew that its biological parents were still alive and saw a wisp of its biological father's aura incarnation. What about its parents? Who were they? Back then, he was just picked up by an old man on Earth and raised. He didn't know what his parents looked like at all. Hundreds of years ago, when he returned to Earth after his cultivation, he also investigated this matter. Unfortunately, he found nothing. He couldn't find any information about his birth or parents. This actually made him feel a little uncomfortable. After all, it was really terrible to not even know who his biological parents were and what they looked like. Yeah. At this moment, little Tai Chu's voice sounded. Its little claws landed on Lin Tian's body, and it said to the middle-aged man, Lin Tian, I was born in Lin Tian's body. I'm a very important person. Lin Tian was pulled over by the little guy. He also came back to his senses and bowed slightly to the middle-aged man. Greetings, senior. This was little Tai Chu's biological father, so he naturally wouldn't be rude. The middle-aged man looked at Lin Tian. His eyes were calm, and then they became a little deep. A strange look flashed across his eyes, and then they became calm again. He smiled at Lin Tian. I'll have to trouble you to take care of the little guy. When little Tai Chu introduced Lin Tian just now, it used very important 3 times in a row. It was enough to let the middle-aged man feel how important Lin Tian was to the little guy. It was probably much more important than him, the biological father. At the same time, when he was saying this, the 6-colored divine light he released moved along with little Tai Chu. It kept enveloping the little guy, and various ancient and mysterious divine runes continuously entered the little guy's body. Yeah, this is stupid crocodile, this is pervert, this is pig head, this is shui, this is pervert tiger, this is purple moon. The little guy opened its mouth again and introduced whooshing crocodile and the others to the middle-aged man. It seemed to be very happy, as if it was showing off its friends to the middle-aged man. Whooshing crocodile, Ling Yun, and the white tiger were a little embarrassed. The way the little guy addressed them was really awkward. At the same time, Baiziki also twitched the corner of his mouth, and then he glared at Lin Tian fiercely. The way the little guy addressed him was undoubtedly learned from Lin Tian. The middle-aged man nodded at Baiziki and the others one by one. He looked very calm, and there was a smile on his face. Back then, during the war, he sent little Tai Chu away from his side to ensure its safety. He had been worried about it all this time. Now that he saw that the little guy had so many friends and companions, he was completely relieved. It was obvious that the little guy was doing well. Boom! Suddenly, heaven and earth shook, and a terrifying wave of divine power surged. At this moment, the sky cracked open, and a figure covered in dark light stepped out. His face could not be seen, and only a pair of cold and deep eyes were exposed. They were like 2 black holes of death. Divine Emperor! Lin Tian was immediately moved. At the same time, Baiziki, Ling Yun, and the others were also shocked. Crack! 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 The void cracked inch by inch, and 3 more figures stepped out in succession. The aura around their bodies was extremely terrifying, and the pressure of the Divine Emperor was vast and mighty. This caused Lin Tian and the others to be shocked again. At this time, in this place, there were actually 4 Divine Emperors in succession. The sky cracked open, and 4 figures stood in 4 directions. Each of them exuded an extremely strong aura, and their pressure suppressed the world. Immortal Spirit Emperor. One of them looked at the middle-aged man. His eyes were deep and carried a sense of sharpness. The other 3 also looked at the middle-aged man, and their eyes were very deep. The 4 of them had sensed the special aura here and rushed over at this time. The middle-aged man raised his head and glanced at the 4 of them, indicating that there was no change at all. The 6-colored divine light enveloped little Taichu, and more runes and seals entered little Taichu's body. Sakura did not move, and you came to die. He looked at the 4 people who suddenly appeared and was very calm. The 4 of them looked at the middle-aged man coldly. One of them snorted. Don't think that we can't see through your true strength. You're just a strand of aura. Just a strand of aura here. What can you do? Beside him, another person looked at little Taichu, who was enveloped by the 6-colored divine light. He narrowed his eyes and said, "This is his descendant? Very good. Originally, we came for this broken, primordial, immortal world. Who would have thought that we would have an additional harvest? Erase this strand of aura of his and bring away this world and his descendant. Lord Sakura will have an important use for it." Another person said, "Do it." The 4th person said. The 4 divine emperors moved at the same time. They were all at the early divine emperor realm. They pressed down majestically, and all of them brought out a monstrous divine emperor killing light. For a moment, the world trembled, and the destructive ripples were extremely terrifying. The moment such an aura was released, Lin Tian and the others could not move at all. They were completely suppressed by that terrifying strength. The middle-aged man swept his gaze across the 4 of them. He did not do anything. He continued to wrap little Taichu with the 6-colored divine light. After that, the 6-colored divine light around his body surged. A true dragon appeared, a divine phoenix appeared, a black tortoise appeared, and a vermilion bird appeared. They all rushed towards the dome of heaven. With a rumble, the world shook violently. Chi-chi-chi-chi for light sounds rang out. The 4 divine emperors who acted felt the monstrous divine energy they brought out being crushed. Following that, the true dragon, divine phoenix, black tortoise, vermilion bird, and the other immortal spirits landed on the 4 of them. Pooh! 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 Blood splattered. The 4 unknown divine emperors exploded at the same time. Such a scene shocked Lin Tian and the others to the point they couldn't help but tremble. Everyone was astonished. The middle-aged man was merely a strand of aura. But now, this strand of aura was able to easily crush the 4 early divine emperors. How terrifying was that? A strand of aura had such godly might. How frightening was his true body? Gululu! The sound of flesh squirming could be heard. The 4 early divine emperors regained their fleshy bodies in the blink of an eye. All of them were shocked. It is clearly just a strand of aura. No matter how strong he is, it is impossible for him to have such might. The few of them had ugly expressions. They were filled with disbelief. Chapter 17:15. The 4 emperor gods looked at the middle-aged man who was surrounded by the 6-colored divine radiance. Their faces turned ugly. The middle-aged man, who was just a wisp of his aura, was so powerful that he could injure them so easily. "Retreat!" one of them said in a low voice. He looked at the middle-aged man with fear in his eyes. Even though they knew that the man in front of them was very terrifying, they didn't expect that just a strand of his aura would have such power. It was too shocking. In an instant, for whooshing sounds could be heard. The 4 immortal emperor gods retreated quickly without any hesitation. This scene caused Lin Tian and the others to be both shocked and shocked. The 4 immortal divine emperors had originally caused them to feel fear and shock, but who would have thought that they would be so easily crushed by little Taichu's father? After that, the four great existences actually began to flee. It came and went as quickly as it came. Buzz! The void vibrated and ripples were drawn out, locking down all directions of the sky. Bang! 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 The four emperor gods were pushed back. You think you can come and go as you please? Who do you think I am? The middle-aged man said. His voice was calm, but it carried a majestic aura. As his voice spread, the entire macro world shook. This fluctuation, is he really formed by a wisp of his aura? Wuxing Crocodile, Ling Yun, and the others looked at the middle-aged man and trembled. How could a wisp of his aura emit such a terrifying fluctuation? Even Lin Tian could not help but feel his heart palpitate. The fluctuation was too terrifying, so powerful. Little Taichu was surrounded by the middle-aged man's six-colored divine radiance. His eyes lit up when he sensed the pressure that the middle-aged man was emitting. The four emperor gods trembled involuntarily. They could not help but tremble under the pressure of the aura. Their expressions turned even uglier. Looks like it won't be so easy to leave. Activate the Imperial Formation. The four of us should be able to resist it. Yes. Three of the four spoke. Strange divine radiance surged from their bodies. Their auras connected and intertwined to form a terrifying force. Back off. You can't stop him. It was also at this moment that an indifferent voice sounded. The sky cracked open, and a tall figure stepped out. There were many divine rings behind him. He was like a divine being, and his aura was extremely powerful. The expressions of the four great god emperors changed as they all stopped and bowed. Heavenly Master. The four of them were the four great protectors of this tall figure. Lin Tian looked at this tall figure and could not help but tremble slightly. It was unknown how many times stronger the aura emitted by this person was compared to the four early-stage god emperors. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. At the same time, beside him, Baiziki and the others were naturally shocked as well. The middle-aged man looked towards the sky with a calm expression. Sakura, you are finally willing to come out? As soon as this was said, Lin Tian was immediately slightly shocked. This figure is Di Shirtian. Back then, together with the King of Chaos, he tricked that unscrupulous old hoodlum into the void domain. In the sky, the divine ring behind Di Shirtian was revolving. His appearance was difficult to see clearly, and only a pair of deep eyes could be seen. His gaze landed on the middle-aged man, then on the little Taichu, and then on the middle-aged man. Back then, when the primordial immortal world collapsed, you sent away your descendants and sent the broken primordial immortal world into the chaotic space-time. Now, it is finally discovered. Everything will be for naught. You can't protect anything. Do you think you can take away the primordial immortal world and take away my descendants? The middle-aged man was very calm. You are just a wisp of aura, but you are still very strong. However, can a wisp of aura block my original body? Di Shirtian was also very calm. Back then, they had battled before, and the primordial immortal emperor's strength was comparable to his. Now, his original body appeared here, and the primordial immortal emperor was just a wisp of aura. As he spoke, the aura on his body became stronger once again. The entire world trembled under his aura, and even the myriad Daos were trembling. This aura was so terrifying that Lin Tian and the others could not help but tremble. Yeah? Little Taichu looked at the middle-aged man, and his big eyes were filled with worry. He also felt the terrifying aura that Di Shirtian was emitting at this time. The middle-aged man naturally felt little Taichu's worry. He smiled faintly. Little guy, remember, other than the bloodline of the King of Humans, we are the strongest clan in the world. We are not afraid of anyone. As he spoke, he looked at Di Shirtian. His eyes were calm, and the six-colored divine light surged. His body of light gradually solidified, as if he had a physical body in the blink of an eye. At the same time, a domineering pressure spread out from his body, suppressing the aura that Di Shirtian was emitting. The world shook even more violently, and various divine lights surged in the void. The world seemed to be worshipping the middle-aged man. This, Wuxing Crocodile could not help but swallow his saliva. This aura was simply terrifying to the extreme. Is he still human? The white tiger shuddered. Even Lin Tian was shocked. Little Taichu's father actually emitted such a terrifying fluctuation at this time. It was unknown how many times stronger it was than before, as if it had surpassed the God-Emperor realm. In the sky, the four God-Emperor protectors of Di-Shi Tian were all trembling. Facing this kind of aura, all of their internal organs felt cold. A strange light flashed in Di-Shi Tian's eyes, and the divine halo behind him became even more resplendent. You borrowed the power of the main body through space? You are even stronger than before. Looking at the middle-aged man, his eyes narrowed. You actually cultivated such a method. You are almost comparable to the king of humans. The middle-aged man sneered. Don't flatter me. King of humans? You know how strong the king of humans is, and I also know how strong the king of humans is. The height that person is at is far from what we can reach. There is no comparison at all. He looked at Di-Shi Tian. You're also stronger than before. There is no need to hide. Show me your full strength. Let's see what you can do to me. Di-Shi Tian's eyes darkened, and the divine halo behind him became even more resplendent. The aura he emitted also rose, and in the blink of an eye, it reached the same level as the middle-aged man. Even if I kill you here, your power will still return to the main body, and it will not affect you. However, this broken primordial immortal empire, as well as your descendants, will be mine today. As his words fell, the boundless heavens and earth rumbled. An enormous divine ring appeared in the sky and pressed down mightily. Judgment on behalf of the heavens. His voice was cold, as if he was the law enforcer of the heavens. The middle-aged man sneered and did not move. The six-colored divine light outside his body naturally rushed out, turning into a six-colored divine sword that slashed the world. You can't take anything away. The only thing you can take away is disappointment. Chapter 17:16. The six-colored divine light oppressed in all directions, its power shocking the heavens and the earth. In an instant, it condensed into a dazzling six-colored divine sword, slashing diagonally towards the sky. Then, in the blink of an eye, it collided with the divine ring that Sakura had sent down. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rocked the ruined primordial immortal world. Space shattered one by one, and the ground caved in inch by inch. Countless spaces were filled with an aura of destruction. It was a shocking sight. What happened? In this big world, many cultivators suffered because of the collision between the middle-aged man and Sakura. Their bodies and souls were annihilated by the terrifying aura. Inside the 99-story ancient pagoda, outside the bamboo forest, the middle-aged man could naturally sense the cultivators in this broken world. He could feel that many people had suffered because of the confrontation between him and Sakura. The six-colored divine light around his body moved slightly, and in the whole broken world, endless light appeared in every corner. In the blink of an eye, it wrapped around the cultivators who had entered this broken world and moved them out of this world. At the same time, it sealed the entrance of this broken world so that ordinary people could no longer enter. For a moment, in this broken world, only Sakura and his four subordinates were left. Only the middle-aged man, Little Taichu, and Lin Tian were left. The six-colored divine light kept gushing out of the middle-aged man's body, and various divine seals and Tao patterns were still pouring into Little Taichu. Imparting? Sakura could naturally see what the middle-aged man was doing at this time. The endless divine ring behind him shone brightly, and there was another divine light that pressed down on the middle-aged man and Little Taichu. Its divine light was extremely powerful, as if it contained all possibilities. The middle-aged man's expression was calm. The six-colored divine light surrounded all directions, suppressing and resisting everything, and shook off Sakura's peerless divine light. At the same time, the clanging sound was endless. Endless six-colored sword light surrounded and slashed towards the sky like raindrops. Sakura raised his hand, and the divine light was endless. His aura suppressed heaven and earth, and in an instant, all the six-colored sword light collapsed. You are indeed stronger than before. He looked at the middle-aged man, his eyes deep and his voice indifferent. You too. The middle-aged man remained calm. Indra stepped out. At this moment he moved. With a single step, divine rings appeared in the sky. Each divine ring contained boundless might, capable of splitting apart the heavens and earth, capable of destroying the heavens and earth. The middle-aged man did not make any big moves. He continued to attack with his six-colored divine light. His pure divine power could suppress everything. Boom! The two collided, equally matched. Heaven and earth seemed to become restless because of this. Lin Tian couldn't help but tremble as he watched the battle. The battle between existences at this level was too terrifying. Every simple move they made was enough to destroy everything. At the side, Baiziki and the others were naturally shocked as well, and their eyes were filled with shock. It was also at this moment that the group felt their souls tremble. A tremendous force pressed down on them, making it difficult for them to move. Their souls trembled violently, as if they would explode in the next moment. In the sky, among the four protectors of Sakura, one of them acted against them. His early-stage god Emperor's strength suppressed everything. In my world, it's not up to you to mess around. An indifferent voice sounded as the middle-aged man spoke. Then, as his words fell, the world boiled. A ray of immortal spiritual light rushed out from the void, bringing with it endless immortal spiritual chi. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the heavens, and a huge divine dragon materialized. The dragon's body was at least 1,000,000 feet long, and it directly faced the protector of Sakura Shirtion who made a move. With a swing of its tail, it instantly crushed everything. Dragon Emperor, you are not dead? The protector of Sakura who attacked was swept away, and his face immediately sank. The other three protectors' expressions changed slightly. Obviously, they were very surprised that the Dragon Emperor was still alive. Lord Heavenly Master is dealing with the immortal spiritual emperor. Let's kill him together. This time, we will kill him. Leave nothing behind. Another protector of Sakura said. Immediately, the four protectors of Sakura moved together. The immortal divine power surged, and together, they pressed down on the 1,000,000-feet Dragon Emperor who suddenly appeared. Roar! The Dragon Emperor roared. Without transforming, his dragon body shook, and his dragon power suppressed all directions. At the same time, it pressed down on the four protectors of Sakura. At the same time, the sky cracked again, and 3 more rays of immortal spiritual light rushed out, revealing a divine phoenix, a black tortoise, and a vermilion bird. They were all in the early god emperor realm. Bang! 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 The 4 protectors of Sakura, who attacked, were all sent flying. For immortal spiritual divine generals. Sakura looked at the 4 immortal spiritual divine generals while fighting with the middle-aged man. His eyes narrowed, and a strange light flashed in them. They should be dead. He had 4 protectors who were in the early god emperor realm, and the immortal spiritual emperor had 4 divine generals who were also in the early god emperor realm. He remembered that the 4 divine generals of the immortal spiritual emperor had disappeared in the battle, but he didn't expect that the 4 of them were still alive. As long as I am alive, they will not die, the middle-aged man said calmly. The 6-colored divine light outside his body interweaved, and it was majestic and sacred. It turned into a 6-colored divine river and attacked Sakura. Sakura snorted, and the divine light surged. Endless rays of light pressed down, and the power became more terrifying than before. The whole world seemed to be shrouded by this divine light. Chi, 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 the middle-aged man's 6-colored divine light was extinguished on the spot. Do you think you can stop me? You're going to fight me at the same time? He said coldly. As his words fell, an even more boundless divine light pressed down on the middle-aged man. Even if you only have 1 hand and 1 leg, you can't do anything to me, the middle-aged man said. With a boom, the 6-colored divine flame rushed out from his body, burning everything. Sakura's eyes narrowed. Obviously, He knew how terrifying this flame was. His hands moved, and more divine light appeared, facing the attack. Chi! 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 A light sound was heard, and Sakura's divine light was burned clean in the blink of an eye. The six-color divine flame's power didn't decrease, and it continued to press down on the opponent. Such a scene shocked Lin Tian. This six-color divine flame was indeed terrifying, and little Taichu's father was also very powerful. He was teaching the little Taichu while fighting with Sakura. At this moment, he was actually able to slightly suppress the opponent, which was really terrifying. This is really abnormal. It's many times stronger than the six-colored divine flame of the little guy. Whooshing Crocodile swallowed his saliva. Boom! In the fierce battle, the six-colored divine flame burned everything, and it forced Sakura to retreat more than 7 steps. Sakura snorted, and the divine ring behind him emitted endless light, turning into a sea of divine light, and faced the six-colored divine flame of the middle-aged man. The two fought fiercely, and the destructive aura was extremely terrifying. At the same time, on the other side, for Divine Emperor's pressure appeared. After Sakura's 4 guardians were sent flying by the Dragon Emperor and the other 3 deities, they stabilized themselves and returned to the sky. "You're not dead?" The 4 guardians looked at the Dragon Emperor and the other deity generals of the Deity Emperor, and their faces darkened. "As long as the Deity Emperor is alive, we will not die." The Dragon Emperor spoke, and his voice was like a divine bell that shook the sky. Sakura's 4 guardians snorted, and their divine aura surged, and they attacked the Dragon Emperor and the other deity generals together. At the same time, they intentionally stayed away from the area where Sakura and the Deity Emperor were fighting, because the battle between the two was too terrifying. Any strand of aura that fell on them could consign them to eternal damnation. Boom! 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 The 8 divine emperors fought, and their divine aura surged, destroying the sky and earth. Lin Tian looked at the 8 of them, and then at Sakura and the middle-aged man. These people were really too powerful. Punishment on behalf of the heavens. Sakura's cold voice resonated in the sky. He raised one of his hands, and a devastating millstone appeared. Its aura was terrifying, and it pressed down on the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's expression didn't change, and while he was teaching little Taichu, he flicked his finger, and it turned into a 6-colored light world and faced the devastating millstone. In the blink of an eye, the two collided, and neither gave way. Balls of destructive light burst out, and the boundless void was annihilated. Clang! At this moment, a piercing sword sound rang out, and a sword ray slashed down from the sky, as if it came from an unknown place. It was so fast that it distorted the space, and in the blink of an eye, it appeared in front of Sakura. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere. Sakura had just collided with the middle-aged man, and although he managed to dodge in time, he still couldn't avoid the sword, and his right arm was pierced through, leaving a bloody hole. Heavenly Master! On the other side of the battlefield, Sakura's 4 guardians were shocked. At the same time, Lin Tian was also shocked. The sword ray clearly carried the strong aura of the heavenly sword scripture. He raised his head and looked in the direction where the sword ray came from. There, the void split open, and a figure surrounded by divine light stepped out. His body was straight and slender, and only his eyes could be seen. He's worthy of being the disciple of the human king. He's already caught up with me. The middle-aged man raised his head, and his gaze fell on the figure that suddenly appeared. A bright light flashed in his eyes, and then the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a smile. On the other side, Sakura's right arm was bleeding. He looked at the figure that suddenly appeared, and his eyes were cold. Junior Ao Jin. Ao Jin? Ao Jin Tianzuan? Whooshing Crocodile was shocked. Bai Ziki and Ling Yun were also shocked. They both came from the 10 Directions Celestial Domain, and all the cultivators from the 10 Directions Celestial Domain knew the name Ao Jin Tianzuan. It was a legend, an invincible legend. At the same time, Lin Tian's expression changed once again. even though he had already guessed the identity of the figure that suddenly walked out when he sensed the sword beam that contained the aura of the heavenly sword scripture. When he heard the name of the person that came out from Socrates Yondao and truly knew the identity of the person, he still couldn't help but be shocked. This person was indeed Emperor Ao Jian. Almost at the same time when he looked at Ao Jian Tianzun, Ao Jian Tianzun in the sky seemed to have sensed something, and his gaze moved and fell on him. Chapter 1717. Lin Tian was looking at Ao Jian Tianzun, and Ao Jian Tianzun was also looking at Lin Tian. Their deep eyes were intertwined with strange lights and traces of suspicion. Back then, they still didn't die. I have to say, the Mortal King's disciples are really tough. A cold voice sounded. Di Tian looked at Ao Jian Tianzun, and the bloody hole on his right arm quickly healed. In the blink of an eye, it was as good as new. Ao Jian Tianzun tilted his head, and his gaze moved away from Lin Tian to look at Di Tian. In the next moment, he took a step forward, and the sound of the sword filled the sky. Endless sword light appeared immediately, like a guardian sword spirit surrounding his body, and slashed towards Di Tian with a force that could destroy heaven and earth. The boundless great void was annihilated in an instant. The great heaven and earth shook violently, as if it was going to collapse in the next moment. The sharp sword power seemed to be able to destroy the heavens and shatter eternity. Di Tian's eyes narrowed, and the endless divine halo behind him shone brightly. Endless divine light intertwined and met Ao Jian Tianzun's dense sword light. Boom! 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 The two collided, and the destructive aura was like the rolling of a vast divine sea. The great heaven and earth shook even more violently. On the other side of the battlefield, Di Tian's four guardians and the four divine generals of the fairy spirit emperor stopped fighting. They all looked at the battle between Di Tian and Ao Jian Tianzun, and then they couldn't help but reveal a shocked expression. His cultivation was the same as ours back then, but now he's actually able to contend with the heavenly master. How is this possible? One of Di Tian's guardians was full of shock. Dragon Emperor and the four divine generals were also shocked. Looking at the battle between Ao Jian Tianzun and Di Tian, their faces were also full of shock. It's enough to fight with the spirit emperor, Black Tortoise said in a very low voice. Dragon Emperor's huge eyes flickered, and after a pause, he couldn't help but sigh. The bloodline of the human king. The world was boundless and boundless. A Run Huang was able to oppress 10,000 worlds. And now, a mere disciple of a Run Huang was able to compete with their Ling Huang. How terrifying was this branch? In the distance, Lin Tianyi and the others were also shocked. Too strong. This is really... Wuxing Crocodile trembled. Ao Jian Tianzun had seen the battle between Fengshen Tianzun and the others of the 9 celestial masters. However, at that time, Fengshen Tianzun and the others were only divine thought clones, so the divine power they emitted was limited. However, at this time, Ao Jian Tianzun was undoubtedly here in his true form. His divine power was simply terrifying to the extreme, as if he could easily destroy everything. Lin Tian was naturally shocked as well. Golden light intertwined in his eyes as he stared straight ahead. How terrifying! And Shui shrunk her neck, then paused and tilted her head to look at Lin Tian. It seems like that Ao Jian Tianzun's sword aura is exactly the same as the sword manual you used before. Looking at Lin Tian, she couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes. What's wrong with you? You know all the techniques of those terrifying existences who fought with the Grand Supreme earlier. Now you also know this person's technique. What's your relationship with them? And Shui was very surprised to see that Lin Tian knew all the techniques of those peerless existences in a row. Didn't I say that I controlled it by accident? Lin Tian Dao. He didn't say much in this regard. He just stared fixedly at the battle in front of him. Boom! Clang! In the sky, divine power rolled, and sword aura filled the sky. Heaven and earth trembled in all directions. Ao Jin Tianzuan's eyes were deep. He didn't say anything superfluous. Only an extremely sharp sword aura surrounded his body. Boundless sword intent moved with him, cutting and shattering everything. Junior Ao Jin, you're very good. The Sakura's eyes turned cold. The junior he looked down on back then, the one who almost died in his hands, had now reached such a height. He wasn't weaker than him at all. Ao Jin Tianzuan still didn't say anything superfluous. Only streaks of sword aura fell, sweeping across the entire world. The sword's power was intimidating. Outside the middle-aged man's body, six-colored divine aura surrounded him. He looked at the battle between Ao Jin Tianzuan and the Sakura. It seems that I don't need to do anything. As he said this, more six-colored divine aura surged out from his body. All kinds of divine patterns and Tao seals flowed into little Taichu's body continuously. This was the original inheritance of the immortal spirit royal family. He was completing the ancient scriptures for little Taichu. Boom! Above the firmament, the divine power vibrated. All kinds of mystical scenes were vast and mighty. One by one, they appeared between heaven and earth. Empyrean Proud Sword and Sakura's battle had intimidating battle chi, shocking all 10 directions. If it weren't for the blessing of the immortal spirit emperor, this place wouldn't have been able to withstand such a battle between the two. It would have collapsed long ago. At this time, everyone's eyes fell on the firmament. Boom! Clang! The divine power, sword hummed endlessly. The fierce confrontation almost sent the world back to its original state. When will Lord Crocodile reach such heights? Whooshing Crocodile couldn't help but sigh. Looking at the battle between Ao Jin Tianzuan and the Sakura, it was moved. Lin Tianzi's eyes flickered. Although this was not the first time he had seen such a peak battle, he could not help but feel shocked when he saw such a battle again. Lin Tianzi's eyes flickered. Although it was not the first time he had seen such a battle, he could not help but feel shocked when he saw it again. After all, this was a battle between peak emperor gods. With his current realm, no matter how many times he watched it, he couldn't help but be shocked. Outside the middle-aged man's body, divine brilliance surged. All kinds of divine runes floated into little Taichu's body. The six-colored divine light gradually weakened. It's almost done. The inheritance of the ancient scriptures was about to be completed soon. It was also at this time that Indra, who was fighting with celestial lord Ao Jin in the sky, suddenly had a change in expression. His eyes were almost about to spit out fire. Old bastard. How dare you break into my Indra's shrine and steal? At this moment, this supreme existence seemed to have sensed something. The divine ring behind him trembled, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. In the blink of an eye, he erupted with a heaven-shaking divine radiance. He forcefully broke through the void and wrapped around the 4 protectors, disappearing without a trace. Even someone as strong as Ao Jin Tianzuan couldn't stop him for a while. Run! Why did he suddenly run away? White Tiger and the others were all staring. The extremely terrifying Sakura suddenly looked flustered and exasperated. Then, he left in a flash, which really made them a little stunned. Lin Tian paused, thought of something, and said to himself, could it be that the old bastard went to raid the Sakura's lair? He remembered that the unscrupulous old bastard said that he was tricked by the King of Chaos and the Sakura into the wantless territory. Some time ago, the old bastard raided the King of Chaos' lair, which provoked the King of Chaos to pursue him. Now, listening to the Sakura's words just now, he vaguely guessed that the old bastard should have raided the Sakura's lair again. Chapter 17-18. Sakura's sudden departure caused 5 elements Crocodile, Ling Yun, White Tiger, and Shui, and the others to be stunned. For a moment, they were confused and didn't understand what had happened to the other party. Only Lin Tian thought that this matter was related to that unscrupulous old hooligan. It was definitely that old fellow who had barged into Sakura's lair to raid other people's lair. This old fellow, thinking that such a thing should have happened at this time, he couldn't help but want to laugh. That old fellow was really capable of doing it. He had just raided the King of Chaos' lair not long ago, and now he was going to raid Indra's lair. For existences like the King of Chaos and Indra, their lair would definitely have a shocking amount of rare treasures with shocking value. That old hooligan had raided their lair like that. It was no wonder that the King of Chaos had chased after him across realms, and it was no wonder that Indra was so angry now. Most importantly, this wasn't just a simple problem of their divine treasures being taken away, it was a problem of their reputation. To an existence at their level, it was truly extremely humiliating to have their lair invaded and plundered. Ao Jian Tianzuan stood in the sky and didn't chase after Indra. Only a strange light flashed across his deep eyes. Originally, he had rushed here because he had sensed the aura of the Emperor of Immortal Spirit. Then, he accidentally discovered that Indra was also here, so he directly launched an attack. He didn't come for Indra. At this moment, his gaze moved and landed on Lin Tian again. There were traces of divine light surging in his eyes, as if he was trying his best to search for something. But in the end, there was only suspicion in his eyes, and he seemed to be frowning again. "Kid, that person seems to be staring at you," Wuxing Crocodile whispered to Lin Tiandao. Ling Yin said, "You've learned someone else's technique, so he must have sensed it. Did you make him unhappy?" Lin Tian naturally noticed that Ao Jian Celestial Master was looking at him. However, he was rather speechless after hearing Ling Yun's words. Would a person like Ao Jian Celestial Master be unhappy that his technique had been learned by someone else? How could such a person be so narrow-minded? Buzz! The six-color divine light surged. The Immortal Spirit Emperor's six-color divine light that surrounded the little Taichu shone brightly. After a few breaths, it completely disappeared. "Done!" The Immortal Spirit Emperor chuckled. Little Taichu blinked. At this time, the aura on its body became more complete and condensed than before. The Celestial Spirit Emperor smiled faintly. A light barrier appeared and shrouded the entire space, enveloping Little Taichu, Lin Tianyi, the Dragon Emperor, the four Divine Generals, and Ao Jian Tianzuan. His eyes were still fixed on Little Taichu. "Little guy, our world was broken before the desolate antiquity. I moved it into the chaotic space and left a wisp of aura to wait for you. Now, I'll give it to you. Slowly refine it with your origin and turn it into your own power." As he spoke, he raised his hands and formed a few simple seals. Immediately, ancient and mysterious runes appeared and pulled Little Taichu's origin world out. Then, the entire space shook and turned into ripples. They began to merge into Little Taichu's origin world. Lin Tian and the others couldn't help but be moved by this scene. This space in the tower and the outside world are merging into the little guy's origin world. Merging a real broken world into the little guy's body? Well, what kind of method is this? The Wuxing Crocodile and the White Tiger stared at each other. Even Lin Tian was shocked. The ancient primordial immortal world, like hell and the underworld, was only slightly bigger than the current mystic realm. It was vast and full of endless power of heaven and earth. Now, although the primordial immortal world was broken, it was still very shocking. Otherwise, it wouldn't have attracted the attention of such a terrifying existence. But now, such an ancient world full of endless power of heaven and earth was being merged into Little Taichu's body by the Celestial Spirit Emperor. Not to mention how shocking this method was, just the impact on Little Taichu's future was absolutely shocking. This was giving the little guy an extremely heaven-defying divine treasure that could be used for a lifetime. After all, that was a real great world. Buzz! Divine light intertwined, twisting the surrounding space into a vortex of ripples that quickly merged into Little Taichu's origin world. All kinds of divine light surrounded it and flowed into Little Taichu's body. This process lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. After 3 days and 3 nights, the broken primordial immortal world was completely merged into Little Taichu's body. Everyone was only in the light realm, held up by the Celestial Spirit Emperor. "All right." The Celestial Spirit Emperor smiled. "Yeah?" Little Taichu looked at itself and blinked its big eyes. The origin world that was pulled out by the Celestial Spirit Emperor was automatically put away. Then, it looked at the Celestial Spirit Emperor curiously because it didn't feel any special changes at this time. It has just merged into your origin world. You may not feel it now, but in the future, you will slowly feel its existence and then slowly absorb and refine it. The Celestial Spirit Emperor rubbed little Taichu's little head. Little Taichu nodded its little head. Its big eyes curved into a pair of small crescent moons. The Celestial Spirit Emperor chuckled and rubbed little Taichu again. A ball of light enveloped little Taichu and moved it to Lin Tian's side. "Young man, please continue to take care of little Taichu. His mother and I have other things to do." Obviously, he didn't want to take little Taichu away. Lin Tian said seriously, "Senior, don't worry. Even without the Celestial Spirit Emperor's reminder, he would take good care of little Taichu." "Yeah." Little Taichu looked at the Celestial Spirit Emperor with its big eyes wide. "You're not coming with us? We will meet again. Next time, bring your mother to see you." The Celestial Spirit Emperor chuckled. Then, he looked at little Taichu one last time and nodded at Lin Tian. The six-colored divine light flickered and enveloped Lin Tianyi and the others, and they instantly disappeared. Suddenly, only he, Ao Jin Tianzuan, Dragon Emperor, and the four divine generals were left in this light realm. The entire light realm became very quiet. Ao Jin Tianzuan stepped forward and appeared beside the Celestial Spirit Emperor. He looked at the place where Lin Tianyi and the others disappeared, and there were traces of doubt in his deep eyes. "That young man has mastered all of your techniques. He is..." The Celestial Spirit Emperor also looked at the place where Lin Tianyi and the others disappeared and asked Ao Jin Tianzuan. Ao Jin Tianzuan frowned. For the first time since he appeared, he said, "I don't feel any familiar aura." The Celestial Spirit Emperor was silent. After a pause, he said, "Where is your master?" "I don't know." Ao Jin Tianzuan shook his head. "When we fought with Grand Elder Sakura and the others, we were seriously injured and on the verge of death. Even Big Senior Brother was seriously injured in order to protect us. We were all forced to reincarnate. After we recovered our memories, we returned to the Human King Valley and found that Master and Master's wife were gone." The Celestial Spirit Emperor paused and said, "Those two must be doing something special. At least we don't have to worry about their safety." Ao Jin Tianzuan nodded. He had absolute confidence in his master's strength. "Let's go do something else," the Celestial Spirit Emperor said. The light realm shook, and in the next moment, the six of them disappeared without a trace. Lin Tian and the others were enveloped by the Celestial Spirit Emperor's divine light. At this time, they reappeared in the immortal domain, but not in the 8 desolation ancient veins. As far as the eye could see, there were many mountains in all directions. However, all of them looked extremely ordinary. There wasn't any shocking amount of immortal chi. It was too lacking compared to the 8 desolate ancient veins. It gave people the feeling that they had arrived in the mortal world of the immortal realms. Too strong. Little Munchkin's father is heaven-defying. He really scared me. White Tiger sucked in a breath of cold air, forcibly fusing an ancient great world into a living being's body was unheard of. It was at least 1,000,000 times more difficult than destroying a great world, and it was also 1,000,000 times more difficult than refining it with one's own body. However, the Celestial Spirit Emperor had simply fused the broken primordial immortal world into little Taichu's body. This method was really too shocking. And that Ao Jin Tianzuan, he's also very scary. And Shui shrunk his neck. They're all very scary. Even Bai Ziki, who was usually calm, couldn't help but speak. Lin Tian was naturally shocked, but he did not sigh. He only had a faint smile on his face, happy that the little guy had found his biological father, completed the inheritance of the ancient scriptures, and inherited the primordial immortal world. At this time, Ziwet tugged at the corner of his clothes. "Big brother, are you free now? Can you take Ziwet to see my big sister?" Looking at Lin Tian, her eyes were shining. Compared to seeing the likes of Sakura, Celestial Spirit Emperor, and Ao Jian Tianzuan. She wanted to see her big sister more. Her eyes were not shocked by the battle between peak emperor gods. It was as if she did not have any reaction to that kind of thing. Lin Tian looked at Ziyue, paused, and said with a smile, "Okay, I'll take you now." Ah! Suddenly, a scream came from a small valley not far away. It was filled with horror and directly interrupted his words. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked in the direction of the scream. Then he frowned, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. There was a relatively large village in the valley. There were about 1,000 families there, and they were all ordinary people. At this time, 7 cultivators surrounded by evil chi were wantonly in the village, suppressing the villagers one by one. They were only suppressing the strong young villagers and some children. These strong young villagers and children were kept in a spatial treasure. As for the elderly, they were mercilessly slaughtered. Mountains of blood spilled on the ground. This is too much. What are they doing? How can they do this? Ziyue followed Lin Tian's gaze and looked in the direction of the small valley. Her beautiful face was filled with anger. Bai Ziki and the others naturally saw this scene and frowned. Those seemed to be cultivators from the world of dead souls. In this world, many people use the living as nutrients for their cultivation. They devour blood essence, souls, and origin to strengthen themselves. And Shui said, Chapter 1719. Screams echoed in the small valley, filled with terror. 7 cultivators surrounded by evil aura ran amok in the village, taking away all the young people and children, and mercilessly slaughtering the elderly. The huge village was living in an abyss of suffering. Save them! Lin Tiandao strode over with a single step. As a cultivator, he couldn't bear to kill innocent people like this. He was very fast and appeared in the small village with just one step. The golden divine power instantly attracted the attention of the 7 cultivators in the village. "Who is it? What are you doing?" One of them looked coldly at Lin Tiandao and put an 8-year-old child into a spatial magic treasure. "Human cultivator?" Another of the 7 looked at Lin Tiandao and said coldly, "Since you've come here, then suppress him and bring him to Lord Yinshang to cultivate the divine art of 10,000 souls." As he spoke, this person directly made a move. Dense fog surrounded his body, and he reached out a big hand to grab Lin Tiandao. The dense fog seemed to be able to swallow everything, and it corroded the void with a sizzling sound. The pressure of the celestial immortal level was unmistakable. Lin Tiandao's eyes were cold. He faced this person and directly slapped him. The solid void of the celestial realm was instantly shattered, and the Yin fog big hand of the person who attacked was also shattered. Then, Lin Tiandao's slap didn't change its momentum, and it continued to press down on the other party. The person who attacked immediately trembled, shocked by Lin Tiandao's terrifying physical strength. "You poof!" Blood splattered everywhere. This person was directly smashed into pieces, and even his divine soul was completely annihilated. This scene made the few villagers who were still alive in the village tremble, but they didn't dare to speak or even move at this time. They just trembled in fear and looked at Lin Tiandao and the other cultivators with evil aura. At the same time, in this place, the other 6 cultivators with evil aura around them were all shocked. The person just now had the same strength as them at the middle stage celestial immortal level, but now he was actually destroyed in body and soul with a slap. "Who are you? Do you know who we are? We are Lord Yinshang's subordinates, and you dare to attack us like this. Do you want to make the entire world of souls your enemy?" One of them said coldly, "Yinshang? Yinshang? The 9th on the ranking of 100 immortals?" And Shui was slightly moved. 9th on the ranking of 100 immortals? Wuxing Crocodile was moved. Grandpa Crocodile remembers that the top 10 of the list of 100 immortals are far from comparable to those at the bottom of this list. All of them have earth-shattering bloodlines. The bloodline of each of them is not inferior to the king physique like the chaos physique. That person in the 9th place is already infinitely close to the true God realm. Furthermore, he has killed a true god powerhouse before. Zeki said. He had studied the ranking of 100 immortals. So strong. The white tiger was shocked. To be able to cross a major realm to kill a true god below true god realm, this kind of combat power had to be said to be somewhat terrifying. The 6 cultivators from the world of souls, surrounded by evil aura, looked at the group of people and thought that they were afraid. The person who had scolded Lin Tian earlier spoke again. It's good that you know. Lord Yin Shang is extremely powerful, and he is the next realm lord of the world of souls. We work for Lord Yin Shang. Anyone who tries to stop him is an enemy of Lord Yin Shang. It's an enemy of the world of souls. The person looked at Lin Tian and said coldly, "You killed our people. Even if you didn't know who we were at the beginning, you still have to pay the price. We'll give you a chance to kill yourself. You can kill yourself." Clang! The ear-piercing sound of a sword interrupted the person's words. Lin Tian directly slashed out a golden sword energy at an extremely fast speed. With a puff, it pierced through the person's forehead, bringing out a string of bright red blood. He naturally knew about Yin Shang. However, that did not affect him from killing these people. These people had plundered this place like this. They had kidnapped the young and strong people and children, and mercilessly slaughtered the old people. How could he let such an act go? He didn't mind or loathe the fact that cultivators killed ordinary mortals. If an ordinary mortal was killed by a cultivator for committing a heinous crime, he wouldn't care at all. In fact, he would even kill the other party himself. But now, the situation here was obviously not like that. The villagers here were just innocent mortals living an ordinary life, but the few cultivators from the world of souls were doing whatever they wanted here. The old people were mercilessly slaughtered, and the young and strong people and children were all captured for cultivation purposes. Naturally, killing intent surged in his heart, and it was impossible for him to ignore it. In the eyes of many cultivators, mortals were like ants, no different from the insects on the side of the road. They did not care about the lives of mortals at all. They saw them as nothing more than grass. However, he would not. He would never forget that he had walked step by step from an ordinary mortal to his current height. Innocent mortals were being treated so cruelly by these cultivators. He could not just stand by and watch, no matter what kind of status these cultivators had. The other 5 surviving cultivators from the world of souls changed their expressions. They had already revealed their identities, but Lin Tian still attacked like this. Moreover, his combat strength made the 5 of them tremble again. It was just a simple sword strike, and among them, another middle-stage heaven immortal expert was killed. How dare you do this? Do you really want to become enemies with the world of souls? One of them said sternly. Lin Tian did not say anything at all. He directly attacked and slashed out with his sword. Clang! The sound of the sword reverberated, and the golden sword light arrived in an instant. It chopped this person into pieces on the spot and directly destroyed his body and soul. In an instant, only 4 of the 7 wanton cultivators from the world of souls were left. The 4 of them looked at Lin Tian, and all of them trembled slightly. "Lord Yin Shang will never let you go," one of them said coldly. He exchanged glances with the other 3, and then immediately retreated. They turned into 4 streaks of dark light and fled into the distance. At this time, the 4 of them had already realized that Lin Tian had made it clear that he wanted to interfere in this matter. He was not afraid of the people and forces behind him at all. Moreover, his combat strength was so powerful that it made them tremble. They were no match for him in a head-on confrontation. Only by fleeing could they possibly save their lives. Otherwise, they would be wiped out in the blink of an eye. Lin Tian looked at the 4 of them fleeing and snorted coldly. He took a step forward and directly intercepted the 4 of them. The 4 cultivators from the 4 spiritual realms trembled. They were shocked by Lin Tian's terrifying speed. He actually stopped them in an instant. Lin Tian looked at the 4 of them, and his eyes fell on the cultivator from the 4 spiritual realms who was holding a spatial magic treasure. He took another step forward and appeared in front of this person in an instant. He grabbed the spatial magic treasure in his hand. Just now, he saw that the innocent villagers who were suppressed by the cultivators from the world of souls were all taken into this spatial magic treasure. Swoosh! He moved very quickly. With a shattering sound, he directly grabbed the spatial magic treasure in the hands of the cultivator from the world of souls. The cultivator was immediately shocked and angry. He couldn't help but grab the spatial magic treasure that Lin Tian had taken away. Give it back! In that spatial magic treasure, there were not only the humans they suppressed in this small village, but also the young men in many other places. They were the cultivation materials that they were going to offer to the future master of their realm. How could they just watch these cultivation materials be taken away by Lin Tian? Lin Tian snorted and slapped the cultivator with a backhand. With a poof, the cultivator was directly smashed into pieces, and his body and soul were instantly destroyed. Then his eyes fell on the last 3 cultivators from the world of souls. He lifted his leg and walked toward them. These people were unpardonable. He would never let them go. Otherwise, who knew how many people would suffer in the future? Yu. Facing Lin Tian, the 3 cultivators from the world of souls couldn't help but tremble and step back. At this moment, an extremely strong wave of divine power suddenly emerged from the southeast. The yin qi was oppressive, and it went straight toward them. Chapter 17:20. Majestic yin qi appeared from the southeast at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, it appeared in front of this place. It was an exceptionally tall figure with a head full of blood-red hair and a sharp and cold aura. Lord Jin Li. Seeing this tall figure, the 3 cultivators from the world of dead souls couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. Bai Ziki and the others were slightly moved. The person who came was very powerful. Mid-stage, Immortal King Realm. Whooshing Crocodile narrowed his eyes. In front, in the sky, Lin Tian naturally felt the cultivation base of the person who came. A faint light flashed in his eyes, but he didn't have the slightest scruple. Lord Jin Li, we were ordered to collect a bunch of cultivation materials for Lord Yin Shang, but they were taken away by this human. Please kill him and take back those cultivation materials. Among the 3 cultivators from the world of dead souls, one of them pointed at Lin Tiandao. The person who came looked at Lin Tian with cold eyes and yin qi surrounding him. Obviously, he was also a cultivator from the world of dead souls, and like these people, he was also Yin Shang's subordinate. After hearing this, he directly attacked and pressed down on Lin Tian. For a time, rumbling sounds could be heard, and heaven and earth shook. A mid-stage Immortal King expert attacked. He only used his physical body to throw out a palm, but the power was still extremely terrifying, as if it could crush everything. Lin Tianling snorted. He didn't dodge or make any unnecessary movements. He raised his hand and threw out a punch. Dong! A shocking explosion sounded, and the void directly collapsed. Then, in the next moment, his fist directly collided with the huge palm of the Golden Oak Immortal King. Blood splattered. The Golden Oak Immortal King's arm was directly smashed into pieces, and his entire body flew out like a scarecrow. Lord Jin Li. The 3 cultivators from the world of dead souls were shocked. How? How is this possible? The 3 of them were shocked. They could see that Lin Tianji was only at the intermediate stage of the Heaven Immortal Realm, while their Lord Golden Tree was at the intermediate stage of the Immortal King Realm, which was an entire realm higher than Lin Tianji. However, under such circumstances, Lin Tianji was able to shatter their Lord Golden Tree's arm with a single punch. This made them feel disbelief. Even the barbarian king physique of the 12 kings' physiques wouldn't be so powerful at this level. What a freak! Whooshing Crocodile rolled its eyes. Breaking the arm of an intermediate immortal king with a cultivation base of intermediate heavenly immortal realm was truly an exaggeration. Of course, although it was shocked, it was not surprised. This was because it knew that Lin Tian's physique was the reincarnation physique. His pure physical strength was already stronger than the barbarian king physique. Moreover, he had forcefully tempered his body with the power of the heavenly tribulation earlier. It was very normal for him to have such physical strength now. Elder brother is so powerful. Ziyu's eyes lit up. It was also at this moment that there was a boom. Monstrous Qi swept out, and the Golden Tree Immortal King, who was sent flying by Lin Tian, flew back. His shattered arm had recovered, and his expression was extremely gloomy. I underestimated you, human. This person looked at Lin Tian. He didn't expect that Lin Tian's physical body would be so powerful that he could actually shatter the arm of an intermediate immortal king like him. With a boom, the Qi around his body surged. The divine might of an intermediate immortal king directly appeared. An immortal king Dao light interweaved together. For a time, the entire world began to tremble. Many places directly collapsed because of this majestic evil divine might and evil Dao light. Lord Golden Tree directly used his full strength? The three cultivators from the world of dead souls were shocked. Then, in the next moment, the three of them looked at Lin Tian with a cold expression. Only death awaits those who oppose the world of dead souls. Clang. The sound of a sword was ear-piercing, interrupting the three of them. Lin Tian's back was facing the three of them. He waved his hand, and 3 streaks of sword light immediately shot out, shattering the three of them into pieces. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. Golden Tree from the world of dead souls immediately narrowed his eyes, and his expression became even colder. Lin Tian actually dared to kill 3 of his own kind in front of him. Boom! An even more terrifying aura rushed out from his body. Boundless evil aura surged, turning into an evil sea that corroded space and even the air. It sealed off the surroundings and pressed down on Lin Tian. In the blink of an eye, this evil aura arrived above Lin Tian's head. It could destroy everything and directly enveloped Lin Tian. Lin Tian immediately felt the threat of death. After all, this was a destructive divine art unleashed by an intermediate immortal king expert. With the strength of an intermediate heavenly immortal, even a reincarnated body wouldn't be able to withstand it. The gap between their cultivation bases was just too great. However, he wasn't afraid at all. Facing this destructive sea of evil power, he did not dodge or evade. It was also at this time that the space fluctuated. An array of 6-colored divine light flashed. Little Taichu instantly appeared on his shoulder. With a light flap of its wings, it directly shattered the vast evil sea. "Yeah," the little guy called out to Lin Tian in a childish voice. Lin Tian chuckled and rubbed the little guy's head. Then, his gaze fell on Golden Tree Immortal King again. Golden Tree Immortal King was naturally moved at this time. He stared at little Taichu without blinking. His pupils couldn't help but constrict, and a look of fear appeared on his face. The reason for that was because Lin Tian had destroyed his arm and killed 3 of his clansmen right in front of him. He was extremely furious and had unleashed his full power. However, even so, his full power had been shattered by a light flick of little Primordial's wings. "Deal with him." Lin Tian opened his mouth and said to little Taichu. Little Taichu responded. With a flap of its wings, a large expanse of 6-colored divine light suddenly appeared. It turned into a 6-colored sea that crushed the great void and directly pressed down on Golden Tree Immortal King. Golden Tree Immortal King was not weak. He immediately felt the terror of this divine light and supported all his divine power to resist. However, the little guy's 6-colored divine light was too powerful. It instantly annihilated all the divine power he supported. With a puff, blood splattered everywhere. This person was directly crushed. "Damn it!" A shocked and angry voice rang out. This person was crushed by the 6-colored divine light, but his spirit was not destroyed. In the blink of an eye, his physical body was reformed. He glanced at little Taichu with a cold face, then turned around and fled into the distance. He saw how terrifying little Taichu was. He definitely couldn't resist. "Yeah!" Little Taichu called out. With a flap of its wings, divine light surged and completely sealed the surrounding space. With a bang, Golden Tree Immortal King, who had fled, was directly sent flying back. His expression turned even uglier. "Don't think about escaping. You can't escape." Lin Tiandao. As his words fell, Little Taichu called out again from his shoulder. Immediately, another large expanse of six-colored divine light pressed down on Golden Tree Immortal King. With the surrounding space sealed, Golden Tree Immortal King had no way to dodge. The large expanse of six-colored divine light arrived above his head in the blink of an eye. The Golden Yuck Immortal King gritted his teeth as he faced the six-colored divine light that was even more shocking than the previous one. He instantly knew that he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. When this six-colored divine light truly descended, only death would await him. If this king dies, you won't have an easy time either. He roared through clenched teeth. Cracks appeared on his body, and his divine power and Tao light became incomparably chaotic. I will sacrifice my soul origin to the soul altar. Everything here will be known to the soul altar. Lord Inshang will know everything from the soul altar, he said savagely. If all of you go to the dead spirit world, you will be buried in the dead spirit world. Lord Inshang will kill every single one of you. As his words fell, his body exploded with a pop. His flesh, blood, origin, and soul rapidly burned into a tremendous amount of energy. Then, a gigantic vortex appeared in the sky, enveloping all the space within 10,000 feet. A terrifying suction force pulled Lin Tianyi and the others toward the giant spatial vortex. Lin Tian was the first to react. He immediately summoned his strongest immortal Tao reincarnation diagram to resist the suction force. Little Taichu also summoned the Four Spirits' protection to resist the suction force of the giant vortex. However, it was useless. The suction force of the giant vortex was too strong and terrifying. It seemed to be able to swallow everything. Whether it was the immortal Tao reincarnation diagram he summoned or the Four Spirits' protection the immortal king level Little Taichu summoned, they couldn't resist the suction force. The suction force pulled them directly toward the giant vortex. It felt as if they were being sucked into extreme Yin Temple. That bastard knows that he's going to die, so he burned his flesh, blood, origin, and soul to create this thing. He wants to drag us to the dead spirit world by force? Wuxing Crocodile cursed. He used his strongest Great Five Elements art to resist the suction force with all his might. Unfortunately, it was useless. It was the same for Bai Ziki and Shui, and the others. They were forcefully pulled in by the huge vortex in the sky. At the same time, in this place, the ordinary people in the village couldn't resist the suction force. All of them cried out in fear and unease. In the blink of an eye, they were sucked into the giant vortex. Whoosh! In this space, a fierce wind swept through. The giant vortex in the sky swept away everything in this space. Even someone as strong as Little Taichu couldn't resist the suction force at this time. After all, this was the power of a mid-stage immortal king who had sacrificed himself in exchange for this power. Moreover, he had made some kind of sacrifice to open the door to the alternate world. When this power was sucked in, no one below the true god level could resist it. Lin Tianyi and the others were swept away by this power. No matter how they resisted, it was useless. Soon, like those ordinary people, they were sucked into the vortex in the sky. In an instant, the space vortex in the sky disappeared. Darkness shrouded the group and swallowed everything. After who knew how much time had passed, a powerful shockwave spread out from the darkness, knocking everyone out and putting them back on solid ground. As far as the eye could see, the surrounding space appeared to be somewhat gloomy. The air was mixed with celestial spiritual energy, but it appeared to be somewhat gloomy and cold. Wherever the 10 directions were, the mountains were connected to each other. There was very little vegetation on them, and they were all species that were rarely seen in the 10 directions. The most unique thing was that although it was clearly daytime, there was a full moon hanging in the sky. Moreover, it was blood red. The blood-red moon in the sky, the world of souls. And Shui stared. We were really sent to this gloomy world by force. P.S. Well, everyone, please follow the Dragon's WeChat public account. Click on the top right corner of WeChat to add friends. Search for Sleepy Dragon on the public account and click on Follow. The dragon posted an introduction to an old drunkard on his public account. At the same time, he also posted an analysis of some of the main characters in The God of 10 Directions, an analysis of the 12 king bodies, and a daily update schedule. After you follow him, you can see these things. At the same time, if you have any questions or doubts about the book, you can also leave a message for the dragon on his WeChat public account. The dragon will reply one by one after seeing it. So, brothers and sisters, please follow him. The dragon is waiting for you. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.